Hello and welcome back to the Awakening Philosophy podcast channel. How are you going? We are, as I just discovered before I started the stream, we're at the end of the book. What the heck? We're at the end. The whole thing. Part 4. Even the questions that we're going through to help us understand analogy. Oh my goodness. I am caught very unawares. So we have to decide what book are we going to get into next? This book has directed us to, well, two big ones. The Republic, specifically Book 6 and Book 7, where we can learn about the different cognitive functions in the divided line in Book 6. Now, we've hit the big two, the two that we do through time, belief and understanding. But we might want to see more of the specific nuances, or, see how Socrates uses analogy to make this very point this book has been making. That is, we have two primary cognitive functions that we engage through time: belief or understanding. That's how we make sense of ourselves, the world, each other, how we plan, how we live. One is bad, one is good. One is the source of all human problems, one is the source of our excellence and the skill needed to solve problems. It's just that simple. Now, this has been a theme in the book that we've been reading as well. What seems simple to the wise isn't to the foolish. What we had to go through to see simply two things, one good, one bad. That's the game of being a thinking being through time. We had to go through, the study of the simple, didn't we? We had to study reflect on what's involved in thinking. What is analogy? We use analogy all the time. We think through analogy. What is it? And we saw in the book, the foolishness of the fool is thinking that the study of the simple is foolish. So, very clever. Right, so Socrates uses an analogy of a divided line, and he uses an analogy of the sun to make the same point to us. And he adds a few more things, and of course he ties in the other activity of understanding the dialectic in Book 6. In Book 7, he gives a slightly different kind of dialectic. In other words, there may be two, which does tie into what we have been reading ourselves here. The dialectic to reach the excellence of mind, and maybe a double jump from there to reach the excellence of self. And we have been asking the question, why is that middle term or mean term necessary to go through? Why is it that we had to use what is inherent to thought or intelligence itself as our building blocks to develop true understanding, dianoia, that we can then apply to the self? Why is that a middle term necessary? Why do we have to go through enlightenment to reach true enlightenment? Enlightenment 2. Enlightenment squared. And of course, the big issue is, how do you see what is inherent not to thought, but to awareness itself? If it isn't an experience, it is what is aware of all the experiences, including that peak experience open to humanity, the highest thing that we can have. Mind itself, or ousia, or being. Mind turning around to know itself, of course. How do you use aspects of what's inherent to self or seeing itself to reason? Because that's what we have been doing with thought. We're not appealing to our physical senses. We're not appealing to physical science. We are not saying this is the model of justice because that guy over there did it. or this is a just society because that culture had one. It doesn't have to exist for it to be the model. Just as a doctor can learn about the healthy body without actually seeing a perfectly ideal healthy body. In fact, he may never. In fact, it might not even be possible. But he can still use it. He still has to use it as the ideal, the standard, the principle upon which all others are based relative to sameness and difference from that ideal. And that can allow him to hierarchically rank where his patient is at, or his subject is at, make a diagnosis, prescribe treatment, and the treatment is to close the gap, or by making it more like the ideal. And of course, that would be true for society. But for us, it's true for our state of mind. So we don't have to appeal to, and of course, the self. The two stages of enlightenment. The two kinds of enlightenment experiences. One not being an experience per se. More of the word often is used, recognition. Now, what we've been discovering is the method is the logos, or by discovering and following what is inherent to thought itself, the mind logos, or the self logo. The self logos being more difficult to see because it needs that middle step. It doesn't have qualities you can experience, but it still has this. It is still the source and cause of all qualities. Therefore, well, there is still something to be seen through understanding, if it isn't seeable through experience. Now, there's one more kind of logos, the pathologos, giving us a hierarchy of self, mind, and the physical world. If you do think based on your experiences through the physical world, you may be operating through belief. And ultimately, the cause of our beliefs, the pathologos, the false belief and image of self, not the self logos, and reality, not the mind logos. The surrogate, the pretender on the throne. Therefore, while wisdom may be the middle enlightenment, the direct perception and understanding of the mind logos, we can see that understanding itself is the method, following the logos to reach it. It also is needed to understand belief and specifically use the dialectic, the activity of understanding and analogy, to purify the pathologos, so an extra function. Understanding is required to reflect upon that peak experience, to go into it in greater depth, to have that experience more often or longer, and maybe even reach the highest aspect of it, mind logos. And number 4, understanding is required to reflect on it in a similar way that we reflected on our physical existence, to discover the necessity for a non-physical cause where all the nouns exist that we perceive in the physical world as adjectives, beauty, justice, and so on. We never see Mr. Beauty walking down the street or Mrs. Justice down at the store. We infer them with our mind. For that activity, to reach that, we then use again to infer the existence of a cause, even of that peak experience. And in the book, we can even use the word God to personify those stages. We have here for the physical universe to exist, there has to be some sort of creation. So a non-physical creator, we could call that God. But that God has to reflect on a model for creation. The divine intelligence. We could call that a kind of God as well. We didn't because it wasn't specifically said so in the text, but that divine intelligence has to exist prior to the Creator God creating. For there to be a divine intelligence, there's our peak experience, mind itself. There has to be some sort of creation of that. Meaning, a higher level of God. Giving us the two creations, the creation of divine intelligence and the creation of the physical universe. But for the creation of divine intelligence, there has to be also the causes and preconditions and principles required for that. That exists as a oneness. All the conditions for the idea of creation. So for everything up till God 2 here, this is the idea of creation. The first creation of the model, the second creation of the physical universe based on that model. But for the idea of creation to exist, there has to be the conditions necessary as a oneness. But for all the conditions of creation to exist as a oneness, there has to be something even more primary, allowing for the quality of one or oneness, allowing for unity. That's the pure one. Now, what we have been doing in the last couple episodes is asking, hang on, this pure one or God prime, is this the highest idea of God? And if we recognize that metaphysics doesn't use the word God so much as the word self, is this the highest idea of self? Pure one. What can you think of that is most close to a pure one? Your physical world? Your hearing? Any of your senses? How about your states of mind? What about awareness? Does that have a color, shape, quality, an experience? Could that be a pure one? Attention itself, awareness itself? And so, the activity of using, again, not belief in science, but reason itself, to make the case that a pure one is identical to the good, is the task we've been playing with the last couple of episodes. Is the self, or the highest idea of God, or pure awareness, the first cause of everything, including the conditions for oneness, but is it also our good, the good? Therefore, the thing that we ultimately desire? Is it our true nature? But also, is it what we desire? Is everything we've ever done been ultimately in service of that? Either a substitute, a cheap substitute for knowing the self, or maybe some sort of transitory step. One day I'll get into this, what we do here, but only when I do this step and this step and this step, and then I'll be ready for the real activity, training or something. So that's what we've been playing with. But of course, this does raise another issue for us, doesn't it? It raises the issue. We have been talking about fundamentally 3 levels of reality: the physical universe, mind, and the self. But this model of creation posits within the level of mind or divine intelligence, there being 2 levels. A creator of divine intelligence, and the oneness to give the conditions for that creation. Is our peak experience of mind that oneness? That is used by God to create mind or divine intelligence? Or is it this, the divine intelligence? See, God too doesn't seem to be reflecting on that. He just seems to be making use of those conditions, whereas the creator uses a model for creation. So the creator God, God 3, looks at the model. So this could be peak experience of mind. Then what's this? What's God 2? Is it passive? Is he using God 1, the oneness, passively? And of course it raises another question. How did the pure one give rise to oneness? Uh-oh, we've got a few puzzles. That's good, that's what we're after. We are collecting puzzles and questions along the way. Interesting. All right, so how can you make the case that God Prime, a pure one without qualities necessary, rationally speaking, for there to be oneness or the quality of one, in the oneness of all of the conditions for reality logos? How can you make the case that a pure one is also the standard of the good? Last ep, we looked at how Proclus, one of the head teachers in the academy before the Christian Emperor Justinian, trying to scam people through belief, instituted Christianity and shut down all institutions of learning to keep people ignorant and stupid so they can be manipulated through the bad cognitive functioning belief. 529 AD, the beginning of the Dark Ages. One of the head teachers of that academy, Proclus. I used to say Proclus, but it's Proclus, which is cooler. Drop the U. It's cleaner. I said to Proclus. Drop the O. Proclus. I said to him, hey, drop the O. It's cleaner. And then he said,
butt to butt.
And I said, no. That's not the nature of our relationship. And then he said,
look at this broad.
He got really mad and said, look at this broad. So, our ultimate goal of knowing the self, is it the good that we seek as well as a pure one? The highest rational idea, as well as our highest desirable good. Is it? Is it you? The real you? So, to make this case, we can look for a kind of structure in Proclus's thinking. We can use everything we've been learning about analogy to discover. Hang on a second. If there is a pure one, or as there has to be some sort of model or ideal of a pure one, giving rise to all of the onenesses in reality. So we could use an analogy, which is a ruling term and a set of terms within that ideal. For shepherding, there's a shepherd and a sheepdog and a tent and stuff. For onenesses, there are various kinds of unities or onenesses under the ideal of, for a doctor, a healthy body, but for us, one, a pure one. Equally so, we could say, well, everything that's good in the world would fall under the category of terms within goodness, or kinds of goodnesses. Under the ruling term, the captain of the team, the good. So everything that's good would fit in the set of all things that are good. We could therefore hierarchically rank goodnesses in terms of sameness to the ideal and differences from. Now, Proclus wants to make a case about a pure one being equal to the good. And our issue is, well, how do you make that case if it's a pure one? What qualities of a pure one can you point to about it being good? Is it really fast? Is it really sexy? Is it really blissful? Those would all be qualities. That wouldn't make it a pure one, would it? That would make it a unity of all those qualities that you're describing. So we've hit a roadblock. How we discover the nature of the one, whether or not it's the good, without it having qualities. Well, that's the functioning of analogy. Hooray, we've been learning about analogy, haven't we? Good for us. Good for us for learning about analogy. Why? Because we can use analogy here. Proclus, therefore, looks at this list of onenesses and goodnesses and picks the highest term. What's the highest experience of unity or oneness we can have? Being or ousia. What's the highest goodness? What's beauty itself? Justice? What's the model of beauty? What's the model of justice for our world? What's beauty itself? What's the experience of bliss? The highest experience available to human beings. What is that? What is that? Well, it turns out to be the same experience, the enlightenment experience or the peak experience of mind knowing mind. Ousia, or being. Cool. Playing with my knobs here. So he uses that as the example. To establish a principle about what must be the cause. If the highest expression of oneness is the highest expression of goodness at the same time, we could say as a principle, hang on a second, maybe then all other forms of oneness are also connected with goodness as well. Establishing it as a principle. Now, he didn't do the other examples, but we did last time. We said, hang on a second. If a car loses its oneness, is it less good of a car? If the parts are falling off, if the wheels are falling off your car, is it less good of a car than a car that has all of its parts? Or is oneness tied to the goodness of the car? We also went the other way and said, hang on a second, if you've got a less good thing, if you've got a bread that is yucky and moldy, does it tend to fall to pieces? Not as much of a whole? Do we even use expressions like wholesome? It's a wholesome loaf of bread. So we filled out the other examples of looking to examples from our physical world, but Proclus doesn't, because he's a metaphysician. He wants to use the highest, of course, and establishing that, therefore, the one and the good are also the same or identical. Now we have to use the word same because, we have to use the word identical and not same, because two things when we use the word same, we mean two things that are the same in some way. In other words, in our experience of sameness, it comes along with the idea of difference. Everyone at the birthday party was wearing the same hat, and we know this because we looked at everyone and we saw that no one was wearing a different hat. That's how we can establish sameness. So all of these units of thought that come in the pairs, the self-logos pairs, whole and part, same and different, in our experience, they are experienced as together. Whole and part is another example. What's the definition of a part? Well, a part is like a puzzle piece. It's a part of a whole. It's defined by the whole. you see a part and you think at the same time, oh, that's a part of a whole puzzle. Well, that's a part of a car. When I see that wheel, I think car at the same time. I think whole and part at the same time. Is that curious? Now, also, 1, 2, 1, 2, fixing some knobs here. 1, 2, 1, 2, right there. And then there's 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, right there. And this 1, 1, 2. Sorry about that. Gotta get used to some new headphones. And how do we define whole? Well, when something's whole, well, what do? Is that the whole car? You look around and you make sure it's not missing any of its parts. A whole is that which is not missing any of its parts. So once again, the two ideas are connected in experience. But we need a word that means something other than anything we've ever experienced, either in the physical world, below that line, or in the metaphysical world or pure consciousness. Can two things be the same without there being two things? Or can we have sameness without there being even the possibility of difference? It is impossible for there to be someone at the party wearing a different hat. We're all wearing pirate hats. It's a one-piece party. Ooh. It's a bleach anime party. It's impossible for everyone. Oh, no, they don't wear hats. Pirates wear pirate hats. Okay, I wanted to use that example. It's impossible for someone at the party not to be wearing a pirate hat. Why? Or to be wearing a different hat. Under what conditions would it be impossible for there to be difference? This takes us back to our Venn diagram, doesn't it? For there to be two ideas that we experience together, that means fuck.
You literally are dumber than children.
Oh my goodness.
The woman? Ugh.
I don't say that. Emma, calm down, Emma.
What the hell do your goddamned, literally, religious beliefs matter?
Matter? Okay, so we've got the idea of same. Let's go with whole and part. Even more simple, whole and part. Two different ideas. For there to be two different ideas, that means, well, first of all, for us to, in experience, experience, there has to be some overlap. As we've just said, everything that we've seen is some combination of whole. Well, we always see whole and part together, and we even define it as such. But there has to be some part of the idea of whole that isn't part. Otherwise, we would have whole completely contained as parts. We'd have part down here, and we'd have the whole circle. Without this top area, that would make part greater than the whole, because the part has everything that whole has, plus extra at the bottom. But it's not, it's the lesser term. Equally so, we have to have something that whole doesn't touch for parts to be parts. Make sense? So we are speculating about what the heck is a whole without parts, or a same without any difference. How can we say everyone at the party is wearing the same hat in a way that we're not saying that no one is wearing a different hat, no one's coming in with a top hat, birthday hat, baseball hat. No one's coming in with a different hat. Therefore, everyone's wearing the same hat. We're saying it can't be touched by different. What are the conditions for that? Because that's what we're talking about now. Because what we've been reading is these ideas, whole, part, same, different, all of these building blocks of thinking and experience and reality, anything that exists, you can see within a chain or a necklace, beads on the necklace, beads on the string of one and many. In other words, a whole is a kind of oneness. So these are all have the qualities of ones or oneness, making it the ideal, and every other aspect of pure mind. Notice the aspects of mind. We don't see any of these things. Mr. Whole looking down the street, Mrs. Same at the pub. These are all things that we experience in the physical world as adjectives, but they are all aspects of thinking itself. We're reasoning through reasoning itself. So all of the aspects of pure reasoning you could see as terms hierarchically arranged within the set of one and many, because they're all various levels of onenesses. And we want to know about a pure one that we can now therefore describe as a pure one that cannot be or transcends many. This area here. So going back to our model of creation, we have divine intelligence as the model of our physical universe, creating and sustaining every moment. But we have some oneness even here as the conditions, all of the conditions and principles needed for the creation even of that divine intelligence. So in other words, everything below this line, from pure oneness, God 1, God 2, the creator God, divine intelligence, and I am going to make the extra step. I'm going to be really brave.
You have the most beautiful breasts
Oh
and
my
the
goodness.
Juiciest ass.
Oh my goodness.
Coming at you rock hard.
Emma is getting turned on by such a sound drop. I'm going to be super brave and make some space though. How am I going to make space? This is a bit of a mess. Okay, let's do it here. I am going to call the divine intelligence a God as well. Why? Because that is the Not much space is there. I just move this down here. So move all of that down. Oops. Yeah, I'm gonna make some space here, guys. And gals. Don't forget the gals.
You probably want to put your grandma in the basement.
No.
So I guess you fucking hate grandma.
Come on. Don't hate grandma. There we go. Oops. Like that. Then let's get rid of this. Then, oops. The Oracle is mad that Emma hates grandma. Oracle's pissed.
Why'd the woman on the screen not have perfect laugh for me get horny? Why?
Why indeed? Okay, why am I doing this? Because we can call the divine intelligence, we can call... Oh, that's a bit thin. Needs to be thicker.
Oh, fuck.
That was a bad joke.
The woman? Ugh.
Hey. Don't be anti-feminine.
You probably want to put your grandma in the basement.
No. Stop telling me to put grandma in the basement. God 3. Why? Because it is a kind of divine... Well, it has an eternal existence as the model that is eternally reflected on. So if the conditions for God 3 to be a god, an eternal subsistence, an eternal nature, so too must divine intelligence. So we can say we've got at least 4 gods existing prior to the physical universe. That's good for us because we're looking for 4s. That's the dialectic, right? 4 categories. Structure of the logos. So God 2 creates the divine intelligence. Or creates. In some curious way, the model of reality, mind, the idea in the mind of God. And we can call everything underneath the pure oneness, everything here, oops, is the idea of creation. Everything from that first creation. There we go.
I often frequent websites.
Good. That's very good. I'm very proud of you. Thank you. That's good.
So, how did you become such a brain genius?
Well, I don't know. I don't know. Right, so everything within the idea of creation, God 2, God 3, God 4, and the physical universe going through its own stages of evolution through time, as well as the oneness of the highest kind of oneness, the oneness of all of the principles needed for creation, would all therefore exist within the confines of that overlap. Because it's a oneness. Oneness. That's a bit too fat. Oneness. A whole of parts. Now, What we have been learning is, as human beings have two fundamental purposes: to purify our logos and to purify the pathologos and perfect the logos, to purify belief and perfect understanding. We can also wonder about, hey, what's down here? Is there anything in reality that is experienced as a part that isn't touched by a whole, or has some force that keeps it separated from becoming the greater? Because we could also say all of these terms are the greater at the top compared to the lesser, meaning lesser and greater are also a pair, or this aren't really a pair because it's a triad. The ultimate, the greater expression and the lesser expression of whatever is ultimate. So it's the triad to do with truth. But what's stopping? Is there anything that's fighting against the lesser becoming the greater? Is there anything that's always different and doesn't want to be the same? That is always limited and has to accept limits? Are we describing belief? To be a Mormon, you have to accept the limitations of wearing magic underpants and not reading Harry Potter. Anyone who says you should be free to do what you want, they are evil. To be a Jew is to be different, not the same. We are special. We are the chosen. We get to do everything we want, and other people can't do it. To be a Christian is to be a special part, not amongst the whole. In fact, everyone that says we should all be together, they don't get it. We are special. We are the ones that Jesus loves the most. We get to do the racism and the sexism. Therefore, is this a way of understanding the nature of all human problems? The cognitive function that is the lesser, is the impulse to its functioning to oppose the greater, the source of the human crisis, cognophobia. Is it spelt that way, is my question. Emma.
Boom. I love that.
Boom, you love that, then I love that
Crazy
too.
hot babe.
Hey, don't flirt. No flirting with the other people on my soundboard.
That was the wrong answer. Oh no.
Okay, a little bit of flirting.
Gooners.
I reckon. Cogniphobia. Yeah, it is. Look, cogni. C-O-G-N-I.
Goons of gooners.
Stop. Let them be in love.
Why'd the woman on the screen not have perfect laugh for me get horny? Why?
Why? Cognophobia. So we are experiencing, in principle, as human beings, cognitively, through the activity of the human crisis, through the drama of the human crisis, what we call cognophobia, the force that keeps the parts separated and independent from the whole. Therefore, belief functions in opposition to what can bring the parts together into a whole, understanding, a greater cognitive function. It opposes spiritual experiences, so we can see the downplaying of Jesus's brilliant light experience in the Gospel of Mark, downplayed by others. Of course, we can read the Iliad and the Odyssey and see if there's a brilliant light of being experience in that as well. Of course, that experience is called the idea or the experience of the good by Socrates. So we can see in this simple diagram what we're after in metaphysics. We're after, well, by using all of these terms that are experienced in our greatest experience here, we want to move to the pure one that cannot be or transcends many. This guy here. Fun? Which has to be out of our experience, because as we said, everything we experience is in this block here. What else can we see from this map? Well, we've been saying this would be the highest idea of God, or God prime. God prime in theology, which is another way of saying the self. In metaphysics. Is that where it lives? Transcending the oneness of all the principles, allowing for the creation of the oneness of the model of the universe that's used by a kind of oneness of God to make use to create our physical universe, which kind of straddles this line. We have parts as well, but especially experienced through belief, but we still experience parts and whole, inferred by our mind. In other words, we infer the whole of the parts. We reason about these concepts. So we could say this was the reason why belief is the source of all human problems, is it doesn't make use of the mind to bring the parts into the whole, to see the sameness of the difference. So this does give us another way of talking about the self that we're after, or the highest idea of God, or a pure one, and the good. So if we are talking about good and bad, we are this is being called the good, as well as the one. Which means we have goodness, in that middle term, and we would have our definition of the bad. The bad is that which is untouched by the good or one. The bad. The lesser itself. Difference itself. So we can see the cognitive function of belief operates in the same area that is the bad. Once again, this is all rationally necessary. We don't have to point to, well, that person was bad and he was Hitler and he always wanted to be different and wanted a special part for the Germans and blah, blah, blah. Manipulated people through their belief and their German belief in loyalty and duty. As does Netanyahu manipulating the beliefs of his followers, as does Trump manipulating the beliefs of his followers. They're always doing bad. We don't have to point to examples. This will always be true. And our job is to see how the pure one and the good are identical. Identical. That's the game that we're in. And so we can see Proclus is pulling from the highest experience of oneness and goodness to derive a principle that he can therefore say about its cause, the one or the pure one that transcends many. And the good being the same. So now we can go back to our question about pirate hats. In this realm, everyone's wearing the same hat so long as nobody's wearing a different hat. But under what conditions can we say everyone's wearing the same hat in a way that there can never be a different hat worn? It's impossible. Transcends the possibility of different hats. What if there was only one person at the party? Therefore, we need a word that means sameness, but specifically applies to the sameness of... So all of these words are this whole circle. Just as all of these words, because there is an overlap, same and different, of course, because it's the whole Venn diagram circle. No. No. There we go. Emma?
The more holes, the better.
Thank you. We are talking about holes. You're very philosophical with your smut.
Off the perky, call me Kirky.
We shall call you Kirky for being off the perky.
Fuck.
So, within our lineage of words that refer to one, we want one that means specifically a same that cannot be different, and we are therefore using the word identical. So there's the origin of the word identical. That's why we are saying, can we say that the pure one is identical to the good? Therefore, this also symbolizes our personal development. As we seek the unity of consciousness, leading to the peak experience of oneness or unity, which is our highest good experience that we can have as humans. We are perfecting ourselves to be more like the pure one or the pure good. We want to cross this line and actually become the ideal. This applies to anything in stages of development. There is an ideal, and then there are terms that are to do with sameness and difference. There's the overlap. So the sameness and difference that we have been using to define what allows for the hierarchical arrangement of parts, we can see more simply on this map. Sameness and difference in this area. Neat. Hold for a second and pause. So this helps us to see where we are. But one thing we have discovered, because we are so smart and so cool, is that unlike architects who have the ideal or blueprints or model, of the ideal, the intelligible form at the top, the archetype or the model or the principle, or for architects they call them blueprints, that it tries to make the wood and the bricks more like in building a house. Unlike that, human beings have a counterforce. Remember? We all experience injustice and suffering because of nothing other than having to experience this part of the Venn diagram. Allowing ourselves to be ruled by belief. The cognitive function that is in opposition to oneness and goodness. The cognitive function of understanding and wisdom and knowing of self, of course. We are experiencing the bad. Why? Why don't we just listen to Socrates? Hey everyone, we could live in a utopia. You say that now. We could live in a utopia. All needs met, without any work. We could all have fun, clean air, clean water. Oh no, the fascists, the billionaires, the Epstein class say no, they will oppose a oneness and goodness of our society. Hey, new chatter. Welcome, chatter. To you we say...
Just popped a perky, now I'm Kirky.
We're all popping perkies here, now we're Kirkies here. So, and so can you. I don't know. Think fast. What is this from? If I cannot inspire love, I will cause fear. I don't know. What is it from? Some mafia movie? Somewhere where someone tries to use belief to get rulership over the subjects? So they have to use fear? Because, hey, a doctor doesn't have to use fear to get rulership because he has understanding of the ideal and he can help you, he can benefit the subjects that he rules by ranking the difference and sameness to that ideal and draw us up to that ideal. So not only does he not have to use fear, we pay him. So anyone who tries to use fear or violence to instill their rulership is doing so because they are bad. And using belief as their qualification, which is the cause of all human problems. That's why mafia movies suck so bad. There was only one movie adaptation of this book that got it right. Oh, it's built on a book. And there have been several movie adaptations of this book. Interesting. I think I might need a second hint. Movie adaptations of this book. Harry Potter. Did Voldemort say it? Or Snape? I think I need another hint. So, it was known as a monster that was seen as a man. Oh, monster seen as a man. Are we talking Frankenstein's monster? Or who's that guy who's got two? Jekyll and Hyde. Is he a monster and a man? Ding, ding, ding. I got it. I won. What did I win? Which one was it? Jekyll and Hyde or Frankenstein's monster? Frank's time. Frankenstein's monster. Interesting. So Dr. Frankenstein was the monster that was seen as a man, but his monster, it was said by the creature. Oh, really? I thought the theme of that book was, it turns out that the monster was more human than the people or something. Anyway, thanks for the quiz. So we are discovering, hey, that's the movie. All human badness, or all movies, all films that talk about some sort of human problem is simply expressing this fraction of the Venn diagram. Our beliefs that oppose our development into understanding that keep us tied to the bad. The hero's journey is to move from our false beliefs, which are the cause of all human suffering and injustice, into the cognitive function that can bring oneness. That's understanding. Understanding culminates in those peak experiences of oneness. And Proclus is saying, hey, look, if you look to that peak experience that humans can have, the words that are used to describe it are oneness, or a unity of everything all at once. Infinity as one experience. The model of the universe's evolution. You experience all of evolution all at once. But it's also words that refer to goodness. It's beauty itself. It's justice itself. Isn't that interesting? Oneness and goodness are the words that are used to describe the peak experience of the overlap between one and many, or good and bad? I don't know if good and bad works here, because there would be no badness here, would there? I'm not sure if good and bad work. Interesting. In the chat, the creature was found to be more human than the creator. There's the rub. For the creator used fear and hate to create life, but treated that same life with hate and abuse. Right. So what we are learning here is, how do we break the cycle? Because old Dr. Frankenstein had to have learnt that from someone. Why did he use such a bad way of parenting, of teaching, of treating human people? Whoever taught him it can't have actually been an expert who has an understanding of the good. It must have been some belief, perhaps learned in childhood. Perhaps we can do Frankenstein 2, where Frankenstein learns the art of understanding, the dialectic, to ask questions about the doctor and said, hang on a second, have you noticed these are your functionings? This is what you've been doing, which means you have a model of what's good to do. Where did you learn that model? Because as we examine it, it turns out it was doing bad things. Where did you learn that hate and fear was good? Oh, your parents. Do you remember the earliest time that they demonstrated this to you? By the way, where do you think your parents learned it from? So we can have Frankenstein becoming not only more human, but becoming the ideal of humanity by learning our ideal excellence, which is dianoia. Understanding through understanding itself. And functioning via the dialectic and analogy. That would be Frankenstein 2. And you can write that movie so long as you give me 10% on the back end.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
I want 10% on the back end for giving you the idea. Frankenstein becomes the most human, or the monster becomes the most human, and midwife's Dr. Frankenstein. And then Frankenstein 3 could be the doctor having gone through that process that we all saw in the sequel, and then himself sharing it to a wider audience. Because he's a famous doctor, and he makes great creations now. Which is, of course, our purpose as human beings. To learn this, and then pass it on, which is the analogy. As we learn this from the book, so too, we will pass it on to others. All right, so what? So, we are using the word identical to mean a kind of sameness, a kind of sameness in which there are no differences. Just like as we seek the excellence of our state of mind, which is the self that is, which is existence, which means a oneness, which means the overlap, the highest expression of that overlap, through our activity of understanding, the mind logos, we're becoming more and more the same as it in our perfection to become identical with it. Now, what our task is to say, how is that becoming more identical with the one, also more identical with the good? So that as we seek to perfect our intelligence towards pure intelligence oneness, to its cause, the pure one, how is that the same as what we desire? In other words, we can be unified within our soul. The thing that we desire for our treats is no different from the thing that we are seeking to understand, to know ourselves. Therefore, we can have a single focus. The perfection of the understanding of understanding, or love, there's our desire, understanding, dianoia, philodianoia. If we can make this case, then our desire for the good, or love, plus our seeking for one, which again happens through understanding, because only understanding can allow you to move from the peak experience to the pure one. It's not an experience. Love versus understanding, capital U, because we're understanding through reason itself. Or another way of saying love and understanding is love and logos. Love and logos, giving rise to philo, which means love, dianoia, the love of understanding through logos. Therefore, our purpose and the new age of man. Now, the symposium says this is actually the model for relationships as well. So we're about to finish this book, so maybe we can go into the symposium next. We're talking about the Republic, maybe, but maybe the symposium too, because this book has been talking about the symposium. Then we can go back into this book and see if we can answer the questions asked by the author. Now, we might use a hack and skip all of the stupid speeches about love that are dumb. All of the ideas about love that you often see on, well, Facebook is dead now. It's all run by crazy bots and personal data scrapers. But back in the day, you would see these quotes about love. Plato or Socrates says love is this, but actually it wasn't. It wasn't Socrates' idea of love. It was one of the idiots. Idiot's a bit harsh. One of the other people there who didn't get it right. So there is a bunch of speeches about love that are wrong until Socrates gets up and gives his account of love, which is love and logos as a method of, as an ideal of relationships, as you and your beloved perceive higher and higher levels of beauty, and at every level you give birth to words. Beautiful speeches about the beautiful person who has a beautiful body, until you're able to perceive beautiful souls, and then the words that you share have a way of helping or perfecting the soul of your beloved. And then there are more stages and more stages until the experience of beauty itself, or the highest,
Oh my fuck.
I deleted it. The highest experience of beauty or oneness or goodness. So the most goodness and the least badness, you could say. From there, Theotimus says, and now you can start the real game. Using that as the model of true beauty, and goodness and truth, can you go on to perfect true virtue, which would mean Diotima is setting for us through the method for enlightenment of love and logos, the yoga of beauty and love. She's setting up for us the same game that we've been going through here, only we've been using oneness. We've been using understanding. Dialectic and analogy brings ideas in together. In fact, that was the quote from the book. The most perfect of bonds, the most beautiful of bonds, is that which brings together the extreme terms. For instance, the author teaching us, and we teach DA Studios in chat. So DA Studios may have never heard about Pierre Grimes, but through this mean analogy, we can share what we've understood the same way the author of the book shared what he understood, bringing together the extreme terms who've never met in a beautiful way. So the property of analogy is to bring together the extreme terms and analogy itself, because what we are actually teaching him is analogy. So he becomes like Pierre as masters of analogy, or masters of understanding. So we're more in the understanding kick. This last question is, how is it also related to goodness? And the symposium is more on the goodness kick. Same goal, if the one and the good are identical, different method. Hold on for a second. All right, so there is a good that is a pure good that is beyond even the experience of goodness.
Who the fuck are you?
Oh my goodness. There's a pure one that is beyond the experience of oneness, because these words that describe our peak experiences, goodness, oneness, all are nesses. In other words, they are adjectives. What's the noun? What's the pure one? If it's a pure one, it can't be many, can't have parts, can't have qualities. It can never be different than itself. So we can use this to this map to define it specifically. Looking for this area. Same thing. Goodness. Is there a beauty without parts? Now, what we have been seeing is analogy gives rise to beauty. All of the aspects that we normally recognize as beauty exists more purely in a mean analogy. That you can see if you unfold the analogy in all of its combinations. Which we did somewhere, if I can see it on the board. Our problem is we have too much wisdom on the board. We are too smart and wise. Oh my God, we are geniuses. Here we are. Is it here? Somewhere around here. Here we go. So as we unfolded in the book, A is to B as B is to C, and its other 4 combinations. We can see symmetry, we can see flow, we can see balance, we can see order, all of the aspects of harmony. So all of the qualities that we infer onto reality to perceive beauty, that has parts. But is there a kind of beauty that doesn't have parts? We talk about seeing a beautiful body and then getting to know the person, and then seeing they might have a beautiful soul and a beautiful mind, and so on to higher levels of beauty. But is there someone that has have you ever seen anything that has a beauty that doesn't have parts? If so, can we use this diagram to explain what we may be perceiving? The self? Is it their self shining through? It has no parts? Is it beauty because does it remind us of the self? If there's only one, there's only one self. Can't be many. Can't have different selves. Is that the good we seek? So, while we need a language to understand our purpose that isn't from the physical world and isn't to do with belief, we can gain that through metaphysics. All of these terms that on the board are not to do with belief. Well, we have got belief on the board to understand belief itself as a principle, but we don't have to believe belief. We're understanding it. We understood what's good and bad, not by referring to a good person that we like. The founding fathers, Jeebus, Allah. We are understanding good and bad by understanding it properly. Its principle. This will be true for everyone and for always, therefore, Philodianoia. That helicopter's really going hard. Yes, so what? All right, so we can get the terminology from the greatest experience, but also we can see that if we break it down, if we study the simple, we study all of these things. Whole, what's the whole? Oh, a whole is a whole puzzle, you mean? Oh, you got the whole puzzle when you're not missing any of the parts. What's a part? Well, a part is to do with the whole. Part of some whole. Now, we can understand this language, but by understanding it, we mean two different ideas. They can't overlap completely. There must be something that whole doesn't have that parts. There must be something that parts don't have that whole has that makes it a different thing. There must be something that parts have that whole doesn't have that makes it a different thing. There has to be some Venn diagram at the top and bottom, or extreme terms. A is to B is to C. Now we want to pull it together into a unity through understanding and realize for us to be able to understand everything as a oneness, there has to first be an even higher principle, the one, the highest idea of God, and perhaps the self. But because it's not an experience, we have to look at our greatest experience to figure this out. Can we experience a whole without it having parts? Not if it's the thing that's doing the experiencing. But by breaking it down, we can see exactly what it is we're after. In other words, we can use words. There is therefore an inherent logos within a pure one, or the good, that is there to be seen, that is the cause for oneness and goodness and creation. That can be seen by breaking it down here. We're after a whole defined by that which cannot have parts. We're after a same or identity that cannot be different. At no point in your life have you not been yourself, right? You cannot be different than self. You can have different beliefs about yourself. But even as you've grown and changed your mind and your beliefs and your interests and opinions and desires and tastes, has there always been something the same that you call you, or that you may call you? So if we do jump into the symposium next, can we say we're looking for a kind of beauty that isn't a whole of all parts like analogy, but something that is the cause of analogy, that's the supreme, what's the word? Analogy is the supreme. The supreme originating cause of the universe is the principle of analogy. So this highest oneness prior to creation, so God 1, prior to God 2, 3, and 4, contains within an analogy. For there to be analogy, there has to be something inherent in a pure one that allows for it to be analogy. How can a pure one contain the conditions for analogy? Analogy means this thing, a shepherd is to his sheep, is like a king to his people. So what it means, likeness. For there be a likeness to the principles for creation, to be a likeness to the God 2, God 3, in the creation of the physical universe. Likeness. What is existing in a pure one that, when applied to one and many, the first creation, or same and difference, you could call it, I suppose, or maybe beyond both of them, self and other becomes analogy. What is inherent to a pure one that when applied to a many or another or a difference gives rise to the supreme originating cause of the universe analogy that we are also using in our return. And our perfection to become more the same until ultimately identical with the pure one. To know the self as being identical with the self. So there is an inherent logos within the pure one somehow that when applied to many becomes analogy and all the other principles. Isn't analogy saying this thing, a shepherd, is the same as a king? Or a metaphor? You eating all of the cakes are the same as a pig eating all of the pig slop or whatever. In other words, a pure one being identical with the good without there being any parts or any difference or any manyness, there is still two kinds of ideas that are the same. A special kind of same that we are calling identical, or that we can understand as a same that cannot be different. There's only one person at the party. But still, there is something inherent about your attention itself, your awareness itself, your seeing itself, that allows for it to be the sameness, or not sameness, the same as, well, for it to be one, it's not many. Even if you've got shadow clones, you still have your own one perspective. You don't see through the shadow clone's eyes in Naruto. But it's also the good that we seek. Isn't that wild? All activities are fundamentally expressions of, or lesser versions of, our ultimate goal, to know what was there the whole time. That which was never different, that which was always the same. Attention itself, which is also the highest possible idea of God. God Prime. Hello, Chronicle. How is life? You tell me. How? How is life? If this is life on the board, how is it so? How is it such? It's a good question. Could this be the source of the supreme originating principle of the universe? A sameness between these two primary ideas that could never be different, that could never be separated, that could never be many. Is that an inherent logos, an inherent understandability about that which cannot be experienced? Are you happy? You seem happy. I am in a state of wonder and puzzlement. We're reflecting on what may be the highest question that we have to reflect on as human beings. And it's very puzzling, very challenging. Lots of distractions come up that we have to ignore or take notes about until we have enough notes that we can develop a theme behind what distracts us. There's also doubt and fear, the human problem of cognophobia. But if we can step aside from all that and do it anyway, we're developing courage. We're developing the virtues. We're developing character. And what's our reward?
That's funny.
We are funny, yes.
I want to see the gorilla packing.
And our reward is seeing a gorilla packing. No, we're not seeing a gorilla packing. Fuck. Our reward is, well, you tell me. Wonder, curiosity, puzzlement. Can I suggest a book if you don't mind? Yes, sure. You can. If you explain, why you're suggesting it. If it's Harry Potter, I'm a Mormon, so I cannot read Harry Potter. That is one of the limits or differences that I'm just kidding. I mean, it is for Mormons, I believe, but I'm not a Mormon. I'm just poking fun at the concept of belief itself. So, if the fundamental principle of everything that we seek and desire is the same thing as everything that the fundamental end goal of understanding and the first principle of everything, can the same thing that we desire be the same thing that we seek to understand? If so, does that allow us to unify the forces within our soul? If the one and the good are indeed identical, the more that we are unifying our soul, the more we are becoming like, the same, identical with the one. And if the more that we are becoming like, same, identical with the one, the more we are reaching our good, or the good. Which is another way of saying our perfection. By this activity of bringing the many into the one via the activity of understanding, analogy, dialectic, reading these books written by masters of the Logos, so ourselves being subjects to a master of the Logos. That's the significance of the books we read. People who've gone through this process themselves and laying out what we need to do to go through it. By reading these books of the Logos and seeking to master the Logos and follow the Logos through the activity of the Logos, are we ultimately discovering the fundamental causal Logos or inherent intelligibility of the pure one, making us unified, which brings us to the pure good, making us perfected. By seeking to see, know, follow, and master the Logos ourselves, making us more like the author. In the chat, Yog Darshan, find English version, it's a great book. It talks about peace, mind, body, and how to live. Spirit, forgiveness. If you're already happy, so just read it. I don't know if you find new. Well, yeah, forgiveness is an interesting idea. It's a Christian idea, Abrahamic idea. It's a mistranslation of the word. There's three words. There are three words. Sin. Problems are not caused by this. A false belief that keeps you opposing your own development, stuck on the bad. No, problems are caused by you being bad. And of course, what we just discovered is not only is that not true, the exact opposite. The self is the good. So you are a sinner. The mistranslation is the word amartia in the Greek, which means to miss the mark. So it's a distortion via a mistranslation. Along with the word amartia, as we've been saying, I'm going to bring it up. Amartya is the word. Hold. Amartya, metanoia, which is the word for repentance, which is mistranslated as, well, repentance. Metanoia means to adjust your aim, which we are doing here through learning the difference between understanding and belief, and mastering one and purifying the other. And the other key word caused by mistranslation from the Greek, epheme, which means to let go of your problem. The human crisis is our unwillingness to let go of our beliefs, cognophobia. The word epheme is mistranslated as forgiveness, which means you are bad, yes. And you did a bad thing, yes, because you are bad. And me, as someone above you, you little bitch, gets to forgive you. I am saying I am above you, I get to morally judge you, and you are bad, but I'm okay with you being bad. And you don't have to ever discover what caused the bad action. What was the false belief that caused your bad action? Instead, I forgive you, which means you're bad. I'm okay with you being bad. Do as I say. Take off your pants sometimes, because that's repentance, and believe that you are bad. You are a sinner. So, sin, repentance, and forgiveness is a disgusting, belief-based, violent distortion of those three words: amartya, metanoia, and epheme. So, forgiveness is a sick word. So is the word sin. It's a word to justify tyranny, oppression, and ignorance. So, but yeah, other words in there are spirit. Yeah, sure. We're interested in separating our soul from our physical senses to experience that oneness and to go beyond even the oneness of pure intelligence to the highest, giving us our definition of the two kinds of spiritual experiences. Understandable and on this simple map. Yeah, so spirit's a good one. Life, we're understanding the meaning of life, and we're doing it not by a belief. We read books that allowed us to develop our own understanding of what is the meaning of life and to understand what understanding is. We are reasoning through what's inherent in intelligence itself or thought itself to discover the meaning of life that is true and will always be true, no matter what culture you're in, no matter who your parents were, or even what galaxy you were born on. So yeah, good ideas. Will you read it? No, I probably won't, because we actually are going to read a new text on the channel. We're about finishing this book. We're trying to decide whether we should move into the Symposium or the Republic. The reason why we read these books that we do here is they're not written by believers. They're not written by people who are just operating out of their own personal beliefs. These are masters of understanding. There are people who, for example, if you want to be a mechanic, you have to read a mechanical textbook, right? If you want to be a doctor, you have to read a medical textbook. We want to be human beings, good human beings. Therefore, we have to read the textbook written by people who have not believe, but understand the good. Understand human beings. Understand the process of moving from our problems to the good. There are a whole bunch of books, so we're not short on material, but there are only a limited amount of authors. There are the Balboa translations of Socrates' dialogues. Socrates is someone who has completed this work, mastered the Logos. And we were just talking about how there are terrible translations of Greek, sin, repentance, forgiveness being three key words that we are suffering from as a species because of bad translations, but there are new translations called the Balboa translations. So we can actually listen to what Socrates was really saying before the idiots in charge, belief-based idiots, murdered him. So there are the Balboa translations of Socrates, and of course there was Dr. Pierre Grimes, another master who, lived recently, and his texts are in English. So don't even have to worry about it being in a strange language or from a strange culture. This book is set in a cafe, in a Greek corner restaurant cafe. Pretty neat. Now, we might read Homer's Iliad and the Odyssey, because Homer seemed to have a mastery of the Logos as well. But other than those three people, there aren't really anyone else. I mean, there are people who, like Proclus, who contributed, of course. But Pierre and Socrates are the big two. Now, what we could do, once we have, we're happy enough with our level of mastery, we might read other books that have influenced people. Or if you've been influenced by a book, you might take your knowledge of the ideal, the Logos, and the cause of all human problems, the pathologos, and then go back to the books that influenced you and judge the author. How well did Dostoevsky do with his understanding and mastery of the Logos? Did he reach this ideal of mind, the peak experience? Did he use it as a model for his creations? Did he use it as the standard to judge his false beliefs? How well did Dostoevsky go in purifying his false beliefs? Philosophical midwifery. You can't do either of those things without dream analysis. How well did Dostoevsky go in dream analysis? Where did he fail? Where did he give up? Did Dostoevsky reflect on that peak experience of mind and develop further insight into it? And did Dostoevsky go one step further and realize even that oneness of pure intelligence has to have a cause? And did he do the higher functioning that we are literally doing right now? Did he examine the pure one? Did he take the next step and ask, could that pure one have an inherent understandability? It can't be experienced, it's the source of experience. It can't be seen, it is seeing itself. But does it have something inherent to it that is understandable? That, when put into manyness, or same and different, in the act of creation, can become analogy, the source and root cause, or the supreme principle of all creation. Did he do what we're doing now? If not, why not? That might be worth doing if you or a significant chunk of humanity is currently influenced by his thought. So the reason why we talk about the Bible is people I know, myself, my culture, and a significant chunk of humanity are negatively influenced by the bullshit beliefs of Jesus, of Paul. Modern Christians follow Paul and not Jesus. The Jewish beliefs Jesus used to make sense of his peak experience. The terrible mistranslations of those key words. So the reason why we reflect on them and read those passages, and there are other books that this particular book has encouraged us to read, like Bultmann, is because those specific people with their specific false beliefs have influenced us or a large chunk of humanity. So that would be the reason to get into those other books after we have ourselves developed a level of mastery of the Logos, the source of human excellence, and the Pathologos, the source of human problems, and dream analysis, what's required for both, so we can use that as our ideal to judge everyone else. Just like a doctor can't start practicing medicine until he has first understood an ideal of the healthy body, then he can take patients and say, oh, this is how healthy you are, this is how sick you are, and here is the treatment you have to go through to go from one to the other. So we are gaining our own self-mastery before we play the game of judging everyone else. And if you don't recognize the significance of that, you will yourself be stuck. You will only be attracted to authors who reflect the beliefs you already carry. I like that. Oh, really? It's the same thing with relationships. You will only be attracted to the sort of women or men. I said women or men.
It's just getting hornier as it keeps going on.
Thank you. You will only be attracted to those people that you already believe are beautiful. Which is why most people end up in relationships with people like their parents. Your relationship will only be an expression of what you already believe lovingness is. Relationships should be about the things you should do in relationships. Again, unless you've taken a class on that, which is what we're doing here, and this isn't taught in schools yet, you will just be repeating the same relationships and way of functioning of your upbringing. From your parents. Now you may wonder, where did my parents get it from? Oh, they're their parents. Where did my grandparents get it from? Oh, their parents. My great-grandparents? How far back does it go? Oh yeah, all the way to the cave. All the way back to the cave. Caveman times, you heard of them? That's the cycle of ignorance we're in. It's easy to point at other people. Oh, those politicians, they're crazy. Or those billionaires, they're terrible. Or those people in that other country, they have a wacky religion. Yeah. True, but it's your job is to see it yourself. What are your false beliefs that you violently defend or savagely defend and are afraid of losing that has kept you trapped in that same relationship? And seeking books and movies that conform with the beliefs you already have. That's our job. That's our purpose. That's our meaning. That's the destiny. To be trapped in those old patterns is fate. Our purpose or destiny is to wake up to this game. The destiny of man, or the meaning of life. Now you can rationally understand that, as we've been doing, using reason itself, but you will only confirm it if you play the game. That's why we have this channel. To share this information, to read together, to reflect together. So we can, see if it's true. Can you share your screen? I want to show you something. What do you mean by share your screen? Don't know what you mean. Can you explain that further? So book is about that. It's for you. So did you understand my explanation? What qualifies as a book worth reading first? If you want to become a doctor, first you have to read a book written by a master of medicine. If you want to become a mechanic, you have to read a book written by a master mechanic. If anyone says, well, I have an opinion that I'm a good doctor, you would say, I'll see you on Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan is full of people who are using their personal beliefs to justify expertise. But they're idiots. And they're harming humanity. To make profit. Because capitalism is another system of oppression under belief. The belief of the billionaires. Our job is to wake up and realize that. Does that make sense? If not, you can go back to the start of the series. I think we're closing on episode 60, but we're finished. So, we're almost finished. And you can watch in your own time and catch up. We have a lot of fun, don't we?
On the real, I say stuff like that because I'm cool.
And we say stuff like this because we're cool.
Crazy hot babe.
And if you follow it, you're a crazy hot babe.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And Emma will say yes. All right, so yeah, good questions. Worth reviewing, worth making clear. That's why we read these books and why these books are necessary for everyone to read and why we can say this particular book, top 3 best books ever written and a must read for everyone. Because this idea everything is relative is nothing other than saying belief can justify rulership, which is the opposite of the truth and a injustice against the natural law. Why? Because all you can really say about belief is, this is what it seems to me. To say anything else is prejudice, by definition. To say, my belief is knowledge, is wrong. My belief justifies me as a expert, wrong. My belief allows me to be qualified as a politician or a religious official, wrong. That's to say, knowledge, expertise, qualification is relative to personal beliefs. There is no truth. Just make it all up. Which, of course, no one actually believes. When you actually break your arm, immediately you abandon this and say, no, I want someone who actually fucking understands medicine, thank you. When you get on a plane, oh, this guy believes he's a pilot, right? We allow politicians to rule based on their own personal beliefs, don't we? We allow capitalists to own everything and fuck people over based on their own personal beliefs. We allow religions to enslave many and genocide others because of their personal beliefs. So why can't I fly a plane? They have millions of people under their rule. Billions. I only have a couple of hundred on this plane. Why can't I believe my way in? Because that's stupid and harmful and wrong and bad. It's also bad for those other things, but that's our job, to wake up and realize this is a principle. And will always be true. Doesn't matter if the next religion has a different person, or the next political party has a different person with different beliefs, or the next capitalist has a different opinion. It will always, 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 always only do harm. That's belief. It is shit. It's shit. Belief is shit. The difficulty we have is we have something called cognophobia. When we grew up, we learnt to fear not being a loyal Jew, not being a loyal Muslim, not being a loyal Catholic, not being a loyal Protestant, not being a loyal capitalist, not being a loyal racist, not being a loyal MAGA. All of these beliefs that your parents had in your family that you were dependent on, they fucking taught you that it is scary to not have them. And you can't go out into the world. Hey, if you don't present yourself in this way, the world will crush you. I am being loving by crushing you now to teach you that lesson. Everyone has this childhood. That's what it means to be human. That's a principle. That's why we can say about Dostoevsky, what did his parents do to shut down his development of understanding, to lovingly, inverted commas, teach him that he has to think this way? Now, a good author will present something of themselves in their work, share something about how they went through a process of recognizing this universal human principle, reflecting on their own unsuspected false beliefs, and going through the process of learning, understanding, and dream analysis to surface it and purify it. If it doesn't have that represented in the book in some way, it ain't the best. So there's our idea of love. So in the way you were crushed, so long as you still believe your parents were loving and beautiful and knowing, which they were not. Why? Because in principle, you can't have this as an appearance in the physical senses. That's down here. The realm of belief, the realm of appearances, the realm of images. So long as you don't see them for what they are, in how they were functioning, in this particular scene, sure, they were nice before and they made you lunch and whatever else. But in this particular scene, they were not functioning as parents. They were functioning as fake gurus or priests and kings of the house, initiating you into your belief system and that becomes your model of beauty. So you seek someone to do that. That becomes your life. You seek an opportunity to do that to others. Do unto others my highest excellence done unto me. It becomes your idea of excellence or enlightenment. It also becomes your idea of beauty and love. Therefore, it might be worth going into the symposium, because the symposium says, okay, now that you know all that, what's the real model of human relationships? What is beauty really there for? What is a loving relationship really? And because of what we are seeing here, how we can learn to use understanding to read the book. Otherwise, we'll just agree with the crazy beliefs about love by all of... See, the symposium's a drinking party. They're all getting drunk on herb and alcohol. They never had one without the other, by the way. They're all getting blasted. Wasted. They're all getting tore up. And they are the best playwrights. The best comedic and tragic playwrights. So they think they're the best. Because everyone else says they're the best. They know about everything. So they're giving speeches about love and beauty. So the first bunch of people get it wrong. And then Socrates comes up and he gives us the truth, which is our own method or yoga that we can go through to go through the stages of perfection towards the highest experience of beauty up in here, and then use that to go on to reach truth. No, not the truth as an adjective, but the true virtue. And that can only happen if goodness, which beauty falls under, is tied with oneness, which understanding and unification in relationships represent. So it's worth nailing down what we're doing here to see that, hey, this understanding that brings us to a one, a pure one, is also equivalent to the pure good, or the good, single good. And that peak experience of beauty itself, the ultimate experience open to humanity that humans can have, is still a reflection. It's a oneness of beauty. It's a goodness of bliss. It's what we seek. It's what we love. And many people think that's enlightenment because you can't have a greater experience. But we have to recognize that even that has a cause. Even that ultimate oneness up here, God one, has to have a cause. So maybe we'll do the symposium next. We have to pick another book. And then we can do Republic after. So there's our books on the list. Dostoevsky is down on the list. We've got the Symposium, the Republic. We've got other books by Pierre Grimes, of course. We've got to get back into the philosophical midwifery book. And as we're saying, this development towards oneness and goodness, and then on to the one and the good, the highest possible idea of God in theology or self in metaphysics, because theology is just a dramatic representation using analogy of the principles of metaphysics. Actually, all art should be that, by the way. But theology is too. It's not actually a dude with a beard or anything. It's not actually a whatever your image of God is. It's a personification for storytelling. But you can't go through that process without recognizing what we've also seen, what makes humans different from, going back to what we were saying earlier, as you have a model or archetype or blueprints for a architect of the ideal house, there is no way in hell, I shouldn't say in hell, that's a bit extreme. Calm down, Jed.
Bitch.
Calm down, bitch.
You're a little bitch ass baby.
Stop calling me bitch, everyone.
This freaking guy right here.
That's a little bit better. You can't actually have wood and bricks and concrete that will be perfectly matching the angles of the blueprints. Doesn't work in reality. There's always going to be deviations and differences in the physical world. Just as you can't see a person, when you go to medical school, there's not some guy standing up in front of the class naked and saying, everybody, this is the ideal human body. When we have patients coming in, we judge their sickness based on differences to this body. And we judge health based on how same they are to this dude up here. And here he is, doing one of these. Giving one of these. One of these. Doing one of these. Doesn't happen. Because it's not in the physical world. That's the point. It's reason itself. But what makes humans different is bricks and wood don't actively fight against their perfection. Humans do. The cause of the human crisis, cognophobia, is that aspect of the parts. Here is a different color. If there wasn't this aspect of the part that has some sort of force preventing it from unifying with the whole, we wouldn't have this Venn diagram of whole and part. Whole and part. We would have part moving more and more into the whole, like that, and then like that. So we would have the whole, and we'd have part sneaking up even more, and then sneaking up even more, until eventually all of the part would be inside the whole. There would be nothing for us to point to and say, oh, that's part. But isn't it the same as whole? Yeah, it is. They're overlapping circles now. It'd be like this. There has to be some, but hang on a second. When we say part and a whole, they're not equal. One's greater, one's lesser. You want part of a pizza or a whole pizza? If you ordered a pizza and they gave you only part of a pizza, would you be pissed? You pissed for half a pizza? We say, Pete, my pepperoni pizza was only parts. I'm pissed. And would you punch? Would you punch Pete for giving part of a pizza? That's what we're experiencing in our current stage of human evolution. The force of belief to counter-attack or to fear our greater cognitive development. We fear and we fight against our own self-interests. Ever noticed that the believers are the ones voting for the people who act against their own interest? Heard of MAGA? The biggest scamming, genocidal, Nazi ICE police, stealing all of the human services, no health care for anyone but the billionaires, no food for anyone but the billionaires, no participation in life for anyone in the billionaires, and the billionaires like to have fun on special kinds of islands that are disgusting. Who votes for them? Oh, the poor people that get exploited, that get used as slaves, they get no social health and they need it the most. And it's their children that are used as prostitutes by these billionaires because they can't afford food. In other words, have you noticed that the people most attached to belief vote against the people who act against their own self-interests? Same thing with the Jews and Netanyahu. Same thing with the Germans and Hitler. Same things with the Christians and Republicans. When someone comes in and helps them, hey, how about, wealth equality? Universal principles. Everyone gets food, housing. Everyone gets everything equally. So we can all equally share the fucking world, you fascist fucks. Universal principles, universally applied to meet all universal human needs, freeing us up from work so we can fulfill our universal purpose or destiny to universally benefit. Notice, universal used 5 times. That's the principle. I don't want to universally benefit. I want to be different, a special part where I can harm people because that's my unsuspected false belief about what loving and knowing is. crushing people the same way my parents crushed me. And if it takes MAGA to say, you get to crush women, I'll vote for them. If it takes the Jews to say, take Netanyahu to say, you get to crush Palestinians, I will vote for him. It takes Hitler to say, you get to crush the Jews, I'll vote for him. A sick idea of knowing, beauty, and love that forces us, propels us against our own self-interest or becoming unified, oneness, which brings about our goodness. And then using the understanding that we all learned as a human species to go from ignorance, belief, into unity, understanding, and wisdom, and apply it one more time to realize that even this peak experience, beauty itself, justice itself, harmony itself, must have a cause. Notice we went from adjectives to the thing, beautiful things, just reasoning, beautiful harmony within society, to the beautiful itself, the justice itself. Hang on a second, we're still using an adjective to talk about the thing, aren't we? Beauty itself, there's your adjective. Justice itself, there's your adjective. Harmony itself, there's your adjective. If we are using something as an adjective, the noun must exist more primarily. As a higher level of reality, what have we been calling it? The self. Therefore, as we are saying, for there to be oneness, there must be the one. For there to be goodness, there must be the good. And for each of these things to be oneness and goodness itself, we're using the adjective self. So our seeking of a pure one and using our understanding to realize it's also the good that we desire is our quest to know the self. All of this is to know the self, meaning our ultimate goal has always been most immediate, most intimate. Before you think about anything, the first decision you make, before you even think about, hey, this is a whole stuffy, this is a whole swan, and it's got parts, and this wing is different from this wing, but they're the same because they're wings, but they're different because they're left and right. And this stuffy is the same as this stuffy in that they're stuffies, but different because they're different stuffies. One is brown. Before you do any of that, the first thing you make instinctively, the first decision, the first use of thought you make is, this is not myself. This is other than myself. That's why I know when I'm drinking my coffee and the flamingo starts to drink some coffee, I go, hang on a second, I'm not getting nourished by this coffee. I'm not getting the caffeine because it's other than myself. Hey, stop it. Hey, stop it. Stop it, flamingo.
Dumbass.
In other words, we're after the self. To know the self. Again, it requires this kind of thinking, kind of a work we call metaphysics or philodianoia, love of understanding, because we are seeing that pure awareness or the self is a pure one, doesn't have parts, but somehow it's also the good that we seek, which is two different ideas. How can two different ideas exist identically without them being different? They're different ideas, but they're not different. How does that make sense? Also, in the symposium, it is implied that this pure one and the pure good is also beautiful. How can there be a beauty without symmetry and harmony and balance and flow and order? Everything we see inherent in analogy. Isn't that what we look at what's beautiful? Ever seen a beautiful girl and well, maybe she's got a beautiful mind and she reasons well and she has a good heart? Have you ever intuited a kind of beauty shining through that doesn't have parts? When they are most themselves? Sometimes you see that with children, most authentically themselves, and their beauty has nothing to do with order and symmetry and flow, but some higher standard that we intuit. Now, we've been talking about the one, whether or not it's identical to the good. And in the yoga of love and logos, in the symposium, Diotima, Socrates' female teacher, uses the word truth. Can you go from the truth of beauty to the principle or standard of true itself? So we could say a true that can never be false. Because even this peak experience that some people like Taoists, they're the ones that have the cool symbol like that, Taoists think that's enlightenment. That's the self. Can't imagine a greater experience. Oh, well, have you been doing much understanding? No, we do experience. We do meditation. Thinking is a sickness. Blah, 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 blah. Right. Oh, okay. So you can't apply thinking to that. Need to add the logos. So why is that a problem? Because it's not the self. It is still a reflection. When you look in the mirror, you see a reflection of yourself. You could say, well, it is truly myself. I'm not seeing a reflection of a Frankenstein monster. But also, it's not true. It's left arm is your right arm. It's also missing the most important qualities of what makes you you. Your intelligence, your goals, your thoughts, your reasoning. So it's still a combination of true and false. Good and bad. One and many. Well, one and many don't apply to this example. Let's just say true and false. Meaning, the pure oneness containing inherent the logos of analogy and all the principles of creation, or the oneness of the divine mind of God. I'm not sure if they're different or the same. In our book, we called God 1, the oneness, and God 3, the divine intelligence. There's a bit of a puzzle there. Nevertheless, it's still a combination of true and false. So the symposium is to say, hey, from this... Oh, shit. Oh, goodness. Oh, my goodness. Fuck.
Well, you eat bananas, so you're evil.
No. We're not talking about evil, even though I eat bananas.
Every smoothie has bananas.
Every smoothie. It's interesting. We're learning about smoothies. Thank you so much.
Off the perky, call me Kirky.
Oh, okay. You're off the perky.
Somehow it always comes back to this.
It always comes back to being off the perky. Right, so this experience, truther, the adjective of truth, given by Diotima, meaning we have to go on to reach the true itself. As we are doing, moving from oneness in the most beautiful way of analogy to the one itself. And metaphysics and Proclus is saying that's also goodness to the good itself. So maybe the symposium's what we'll read next. So that's the significance, what we're doing, to see that our ultimate goal of oneness in understanding, or the pure one, is also the ultimate goal of good that we seek in our desires, so we can unify all of our activity in one direction, like the band. One direction that therefore gives us a unity of our soul, of our life, more unified, the more perfected we are, using this very principle. So we have to make that case. Don't just believe Proclus or the book. You got to understand yourself and share it with your friends over coffee. And this will give us a good start to read the symposium. Ignore the garbage speeches written by garbage playwriters. and recognize that it's the same task that we are in the symposium. Oh, but also we could read the Orange Book because, as we're saying, human beings have this cognophobia that fights against it. So it is worth doing the philosophical midwifery book at the same time because, yeah, we will be, in our seeking to master that work, we will surface all of our counterattacks and false beliefs telling us not to do this, do something else, read another book, and we have to recognize that they're not to harm us. Not to harm us. Oh, thank you. Sure, thank you for what? Oh, I'm sorry, there was two people talking. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, KJ. I thought you were the same person as Chronicle. Thought on Dostoevsky. Yes, so I will answer your question earlier. I didn't realize they were a different person. Same thing with Dostoevsky as we've been talking about, but there's something specific to, there are certain languages that can't do any of this. Notice we talked about certain key mistranslations that give rise to violent oppression, sin. You didn't make a mistake because you missed the mark. You did it because you're a nasty person. And you don't, if you miss the mark, you don't get special attention from a master to help you adjust your aim, a master archer. No, you have to repent, which means say a million Hail Marys, take off your pants, give me your money. And you don't solve your problems by letting go of the false belief that caused you to miss the mark. You solve your problems by that person abusing you, saying, you are still bad, but I'm okay with it. Forgiveness. These are sick mistranslations. So by changing the language, you can allow for violence. Why? Oh, because those Palestinians are not bad because they lack education or they have a false belief. No, they are evil. And evil doesn't want to learn. Evil doesn't want to hit the mark. You can't teach evil. All you can do is kill it. Like in the Abrahamic religions, kill the devil. Therefore, punishment. Punishment is fucking stupid. It's a way of sneaking in violence that believers need to rule. A doctor, a mechanic doesn't need violence to rule over the body or the engine. In fact, we pay them. Fascists, conservatives, capitalists, religious authorities need violence because they cannot ever offer anything good because they're operating from belief. These are all belief-based systems. So these manipulations of keywords allow for the fake idea of punishment. Inflicting harm makes you good, actually. Making things hot makes ice, actually. Opposites. Putting a fire in the freezer makes it hotter, actually. Bullshit. Doing a bad thing doesn't make you good, actually. That's punishment. That is sickness. But it's a required sickness for the worst, most sick of our species to have rulership over others because they're still operating from fate. Their unsuspected false beliefs about what is good from their own parents, they are seeking an opportunity to do it to others with impunity. That's the root cause of human fascism, sadism, and suffering. To install that opportunity to harm people and get away with it, be it on Epstein Island or in imperialism or capitalism or religion or whatever, requires violence to get people to still listen to you, even though you should be at the bottom of the hierarchy. You should be the one getting the help, not doing the help, because you're not helping, you are harming to benefit yourself. That's capitalism. Capitalism is the veneration of that as a fucking system. It's sick at its essence, in its simplest form. And punishment is the sick idea that doing bad will be good, actually, that allows for some people to do the violence and act against their own interests. Notice the people signing up to ICE doing the violence are the most ignorant. The people signing up to the IDF are the biggest believers. It's always the same. It's always the same. Requires a mistranslation of certain keywords. Now, on the other side, we have to recognize that. That's our purpose. Ourselves, because you're doing it to yourselves. In your relationships, because your relationships is nothing other than the playing out of the implications of those false beliefs about love and beauty that you haven't reflected on. In our society, as we've been talking about, in our institutions, including the economic system and the justice system, it's always the same. It's very, very simple. It's simple because we've gone through the work on studying the simple. But the other side, other than understanding and solving problems, is perfecting our excellence, which involves recognizing in the physical world you see a beautiful puppy, a beautiful painting, a beautiful streamer.
You have the most beautiful breasts and the juiciest ass.
Me? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I can't believe I made you say that. To see these beautiful things with beauty being used as an adjective and realize, hang on a second, where did I learn beauty? I have never seen it in the physical world. I infer it. And even though some people say beauty is in the eye of the beholder, I know that's not fucking true because we have supermodels. Where is it? If I didn't learn it in the physical world, but I project it, my mind infers it onto physical things like streamers. Where did it come from? Where did mind perceive beauty itself? Same thing for justice. Same thing for all of the words on the board. We use as adjectives. Metaphysics is saying, okay, what's the noun? Another way of saying that is going from a beautiful thing, draw it on the board, color. Going from a beautiful, the small b, thing in the physical world to what is the beautiful itself. Notice the two key words we need. The word self, which is a clue because eventually we have to go higher. Hey, beauty itself, justice itself, what's the self? This word has been not in any Platonic dialogues up until the last 20 years. That's why I keep saying you have to read the Balboa translation. The word in Greek is autos, which means self. It's an honorific, like Daniel-san. So in the Homer, in the Odyssey and Iliad, Achilles' sword was shield was special. It was the best of all shield. They called it the self shield. It's an honorific. But it also means, hey, we are discovering the self. Our ultimate standard of excellence is the self. That's why you can't be doing philosophy unless you read the Balboa translations in principle, because the key word is missing. Because itself isn't just itself, it's self. The beauty self is the real translation. And now you also need another key word, the. You're going from a example to the. That's metaphysics. Adjectives to nouns. Physical examples to the real thing. We are learning from our physical experience through time what is inherent in pure consciousness, which is a higher dimension of reality. It is said we can reflect on this, that the whole reason we reincarnate is because we are carrying a false belief about ourselves that prevents our higher spiritual evolution through reality itself. If you think you're ugly, how can you participate in beauty itself? If you think you are a sinner, how can you participate in reincarnations where you're in a higher reality, which is goodness itself? So all of the ignorance that we see manifesting in human cultures and religions and traditions is sick beliefs that we are specifically here to address personally with our own personal false beliefs, but culturally. Our job as a human race is to surface all of the sick beliefs that surface in opposition to the middle thing. Goodness, oneness, truth, beauty, justice. That's our job, individually and collectively. When we do that, we will have perhaps a greater role to play within a greater cosmos and multiverse. As masters of not just your own personal beliefs, but beliefs themselves. In other words, if we say, hey, how about everyone gets a house? All of the fuckheads in the world will say, I don't think everyone should get a house. I want to take money away. I want to be a landlord and have all the houses, and you have to fucking pay me. There will be people who will surface to fight against our own utopia. You can't just do the good thing because human beings have a force, the pathologos, false belief about self and reality, that fights against our development in a way that bricks and wood do not fight against their development to make a good house. That's the pathologos. We have to surface them. And we surface them when we move from a beautiful thing, or in the symposium, different levels of beautiful things, to reach the beautiful itself. Dostoevsky is Russian, I believe. The Russians don't have a word for the. They are hamstrung from participating in the human purpose, our purpose here, metaphysics. They don't have the word the. There are some cultures, I think Latin also doesn't have the word the. I'm not sure about Latin, but I think maybe Bosnian, Russian, Latin. So not only will Dostoevsky, not be a master of the logos, he can't be. Unless, of course, he borrows the word the from a different language, the same way we are borrowing the word altos, or dianoia, or ousia, or logos. There's no word for these in English. Well, we have altos, but we don't have ousia, the capacity for mind to turn about in self-reflection culminating in the peak experience. We have to use the word ousia. Everything that we are going through is by seeking the inherent intelligibility of mind, reality, and then self. And the inherent intelligibility, our pathologos of our beliefs, allows us to solve problems. We need the word logos for pathologos and for mind logos and for self logos. We need it. It pisses people off sometimes because, you just can't. I've heard someone say, you just can't use the word logos. No. You have to, idiot. Just as Dostoevsky has to use the word the, and it's not in his language. So, now there was a philosopher who was going to made this case in front of a famous Russian university once. And again, cognophobia, people fighting against their own learning and benefit. A lot of Russians are very precious about their dear authors. So he quickly said, oh no, that's okay. They're really good at poetry. Dostoevsky and Tolstoy and all these people, very good at poetry. As a way of, not getting beat up or something. But we don't have time for that. Don't have time for that. I left the stream. What do you think about the book? What book? What book? I've been answering your question. So if you... maybe you can watch the VOD and you'll get your answer. So yeah, but we don't have time to fuck around. Our unsuspected, unexamined, ununderstood false beliefs and our lack of understanding the nature of belief itself, which allows the tyranny of ruling by belief, capitalism, conservatism, religion, etc., a punitive justice system, can now play out with modern human technology we call nuclear weapons. In other words, we can't fuck around. I suggest the book a few minutes. Yeah, and I answered you a few minutes ago. So check the VOD. I post them on YouTube, and you can also see them on Twitch. You'll get your answer. So we don't have time to mess around, which is why, like to our chat, I'm not babying him. Well, let me explain again why it's important to first understand the truth before we read someone else who's going to get it wrong. Yeah, false beliefs. Everyone's operating at some level from false beliefs, and which is called the pathologos. And unless you are going through the process of doing what we are doing here, logos, and purifying beliefs, you will be operating from ignorance. But what we are learning to do as philosophers, true philosophers, philodianoias, is how we can diagnose where someone is at and use our understanding of the truth to help them through the dialectic. So, our friend in chat is saying, what do you believe? Which is fucking stupid. You couldn't have asked a more stupid question, considering everything we've been saying on the stream and in the series is pointing to the fact that beliefs are stupid and the cause of all human problems, and our purpose is to let go of our beliefs and develop understanding. You couldn't have asked a more fucking stupid question. Is the truth. Now, normally I wouldn't say it in that way. I would say just watch the VODs, and knowing that he probably won't, because very few people have the intelligence and character to do it. But the point is, we're not fucking around anymore. We can't lie. I'm not going to, well, yes, beliefs are good at, no, I can't fuck around. I'm not going to baby chatters because we don't have time. But what about my beliefs? I like Judaism, or I like Islam. My mummy told me that Allah is number one. We don't have time for that. No, not your beliefs, all beliefs. Every belief. Not your religion, all religions. Not your capitalism, all ruled by belief. Belief itself is the issue. We are not realizing that belief and understanding are two fundamentally different things. We need to be learning this from kindergarten. It's what we are. We are different from cows and caterpillars and cabbages because we have cognitive faculties that allow for self-reflection, ousia, and to do so by logos. That's it. Two things. That's our evolution. We make use of ousia and logos through true understanding. That's what we've written on the board. Dianoia. We need the word dianoia because we're not understanding physical things. We're understanding and reality itself. Dianoia. Learn it. Because we have that capacity, we also have the capacity to be duped because we also have physical senses. When someone appears beautiful, appears loving, usually when we're very young and we don't know any better and we're stuck in that fucking box, the insanity of how we allow children to be raised, stuck in a box where people pretend to know shit they don't, playing out the same injustice their parents played upon them, means we can, because we have the capacity for dianoia, we also have the capacity for doxia, belief. We learn to fear our dianoia, which is our goodness, and feel we need and identify with our doxia, belief, our badness. And now we have enough, because of the way human beings evolved after the asteroid hit and killed out the major predators, we didn't have enough time going through certain conditions to recognize that beliefs will get you fucking eaten by dinosaurs. We were able to evolve quickly, which means human beings is living in a state of sickness because we haven't recognized beliefs, doxia, are fucking stupid and the cause of all human problems. So we allow conservatives, religious, capitalist people to fuck everyone over because they have their stupid ass beliefs that they've never reflected on, and they are seeking to do harm to other people because that's what they think it means to be knowing. Sadism, to seek harming people the way they were harmed. Sadism, that's belief. That's the truth. It was the truth when Socrates said it, and it's the truth when Pierre Grimes said it, and it's the truth when we see it now. We don't have time to fuck around because you love your beliefs, or you love your tyrant, or you love MAGA, or you love your pastor, or imam, or rabbi, or preacher, or evangelist, or Scientology, whatever, or Mormon, whatever. Yes, there are hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people who pretend to know shit through religion, or politics, or capitalism when they've got money, that don't. They are cosplaying mastership. We have to recognize that, and we don't have time to fuck around and treat each other like babies. That's the point. This used to be a special esoteric tradition of spirituality, because when you say, oh, beliefs are the problem, a Christian would say, fuck you, I love my beliefs. Jesus is king. And the other side of the road, there'd be a Muslim. But Allah is king. I will kill you. The Christian would call you a heretic. The Muslim would call you an infidel. The Jew would call you a goyim. They would all have a way of dehumanizing you for telling the truth because it just goes against their ignorant baby beliefs to justify violence. And they would kill you. That's why it was secret. Not because it's not for everyone, it's because human beings haven't realized the difference between understanding and belief because of our evolutionary conditions. We didn't have time to go through this. We evolved very quickly because of the major predators being wiped out by the asteroid. We grew up very quickly, and now we have nuclear weapons because we got focused on science, Aristotle, belief, Justinian, and not Socrates. So our job is to tell the truth. To tell the truth and explore these texts which are fun, explore our dreams which are meaningful, explore our own problems that come up which are solvable. That's the game. Texts that are fun and meaningful, dreams that are our guidance, and our problems which are solvable. That's the whole game, and we tell the truth. We tell the truth because we don't have time to do otherwise. It's not personal. That's the game. Which means saying, hey, if you're Russian and you're not using the word the, throw it in. But I love Tolstoy and Dostoevsky. Then grow up. Hey, don't throw them away, but also do this. And then go back to them and see if you still love them as much. But I still love the Bible. Great. Now learn to understand the Bible. All of the questions in this book will allow you to understand at a more real level by reading Boltman, by asking these questions that we've been asked, specifically about the brilliant light of being experience, understanding what that experience is, understanding why Jesus made sense of it through his Jewish beliefs, understanding the difference between Paul and Jesus. Understand it. Then go back to your beliefs and see if you still care for them as much. If you're still willing to kill and die for them as much. But you're not going to do that unless someone says, hey, grow up. It's easy to see with that person's crazy belief, or that fascist, or that tyrant, or that capitalist nutjob. But it's also true for yours. That's integrity. It's not just your neighbors whose parents are drunks, and your neighbors' kids who think, wow, they are so great. Or the people across the street, their kids think their parents are great. And the people up the street, they think and the people in that crazy country, the Scientology parents, they're great. It's not just every other child that thinks their parents are great, it's you too. It's not just the wacky religions or the ones that are so different from your beliefs you call them fundamentalists. It's yours too. They think the same thing about you. Because it's beliefs. We have to recognize this and say every minute of our day we can be spent doing what we can to seek what we actually really seek, the good, and understand what we really want to understand, the self, as the pure one and the pure good. There's only one thing we're after, that we desire, that we seek, and that we reason about. It's the one, the good, the true, the self. Everything else is just an expression of the false beliefs that we have to purify along the way. And you will only reach that through dianoia. Therefore, the new age of man, if we are to overcome our extinction, is philodianoia, love for the good and understanding for the one. Philodianoia, love and logos. In other words, you will not want to do it. I mean, you will want to do it, but there will be a voice that you think is you that will say, don't do it. That's the cognophobia. That's the loyalty to your own beliefs. That's the fear of letting go of what you used to think and how you used to be to figure out what you really are and to reach your true mastery of the logos and mastery of self. To be a good ruler over your soul, your relationships, anything else you have any influence over in this lifetime or beyond. That's the game. That's the whole thing. Can be understood with one thing. One word. Philodianoia. The art of understanding, which is the dialectic and analogy, allowing us to follow the inherent intelligibility and guidance of reality, follow the logos. That's the one thing. You might want to say, well, actually, there are two things. We have to perfect our mastery, which is what we've been learning about. Mastery of the truth. The one and the good of dianoia, or understanding with a capital U, because true understanding, dianoia, and purify what is false, what is divided or divisive, and what is bad of our pathologos beliefs, which again is a activity of. We could also say, well, actually, you could understand the meaning of life for all people as three things: reading, or to perfect, or learn the dialectic and analogy and the logos terms through, or dianoia through reading what books? Dostoevsky? No. The other book that was suggested, The Chronicles of Narnia, was it? Yog-Darshan. Nope. We are reading Masters of Dianoia. Small group. Balboa. Translation of Socrates' dialogues. And Dr. Pierre Grimes. Also, remove our beliefs, let's just say pathologos, beliefs by applying dianoia, dialectic, analogy, and the logos terms to our problems or blocks that arise or counterattacks. That arise when pursuing that mastery of the logos, and also reading and mastering the Orange Book, the Orange Sutra. Sutra is fancy word for spiritual book, called philosophical midwifery, comma, colon, not that kind of colon.
Yes. Yes.
No.
Yes.
No, I said no.
Well, you eat bananas, so you're evil.
Oh my goodness. Colon, a new paradigm. It's one hell of a title for understanding human problems. And number 3, run out of space. And follow guidance from a master via applying dianoia, dialectic, analogy. Oh, getting cramp in my hand. The logos terms to your dreams. That's the guidance that you have along the way to fulfill your purpose, called dream analysis. Not dream interpretation, that's belief, that's stupid. Analysis. So, philodianoia, one art we are all here to master. Therefore, a way of unifying not only our soul, but our species. And as we've been seeing, the more unified, the more goodness. Provided we're unified by truth and logos. Number 2 activities of perfecting our mastery of the truth or good or one or self Where'd that come from? And purify what is false, divided, bad. A pathologos. And 3 activities to do that. To learn the dialectic, analogy, and logos, or dianoia, through reading Masters of Dianoia. It's a small list. The Balboa translation of Socrates' dialogues. I think we've made a good case for that today. And Dr. Pierre Grant's, which you're reading right now. And to remove pathologos beliefs by applying dianoia, dialectic, analogy, logos, to problems, blocks, and counterattacks that will arise when pursuing that mastery of the logos. Seek to master these texts and you will surface what you need to address and solve your problems, freeing you from your fate. Also, reading and mastering the Orange Sutra, the philosophical midwifery book. A new paradigm for understanding human problems is what it's called. There's also a companion, smaller, abridged version called the Pocket Pierre. Write that up. It's a bit more accessible. It comes along with its companion workbook, Pocket Pierre. The companion workbook is called Unblocking. Often they're sold together on Amazon. And to follow guidance from a master to help you along that way by applying the same dianoia, dialectic, analogy, logos to your dreams. That's dream analysis. Therefore, to put it simply, what used to be esoteric, but now we're just telling the truth because we don't have time to fuck around. 1, art. 2, goals. 3, activities. There's our destiny or purpose or human purpose. One art, philodianoia. 2 goals, purify what is false and perfect what is true. Purify belief, perfect understanding. 3 activities, reading these books to learn dianoia. Reflect on the problems that you come up in the activity of philosophical midwifery, which is dianoia or dialectic applied to freeing your problems, and get guidance and help and instruction along the way by applying that same art of dianoia to your dreams. So 3 activities of application of that art. 2 goals as a result of that art, and 1 art to master. Make sense? I am going to take a quick break. Be right back. Okay, that was a big lead-in. Worth doing, I suppose. Worth reviewing and seeing where we're at, because we have one more case in the book made by Proclus about how the pure one could also be the model, the archetype, the principle, the axiom. It could be the good. The good that we desire could be the one that we seek. Proclus's 148th proposition. So we've gone from the ominous 13th to the don't know, wacky 148th. Probably not wacky. Let's read it and then decide an adjective. This is a translation of Proclus's 148th proposition made by Juan and Maria Balboa, the good translators that I've just been talking about. Hooray. Here it is. Do we have the noise? Let's. Every divine order is unified to itself in a threefold manner, from its summit, which is in it, and from its middle, and from its end.
For on the one hand, the summit, possessing a power most singular, transmits union to all, and unites the whole. But on the other hand, the middle, fully extending to both directions, fully extending to both extremes, binds together the whole order about itself. On the one hand, translating the gifts of those that are first downward, but on the other hand, drawing up the powers of such that are last, and inserting a communion in all of them, and a conjunction with each other. For in this way, the whole arrangement becomes one, through both natures that fill and those that are filled, converging to the middle just as if to a certain center. Thus, finally, this transversing, being converted again to the beginning, draws up the preceding powers and imparts a similitude and convergency to the whole order. And in this way, the complete cosmic arrangement is one. And through the unific power of those that are first, through the connection existing in the middle, and through the conversion of the end to the beginning of progressions. Ooh.
To explore this kind of reasoning further, it is important to read Proclus's Elements of Theology and his commentary on Plato's Parmenides. So, 2 more authors to our reading list. We got a heap in this book. If you find this challenging, you will enjoy The Life of the Mind. There we go. The Life of the Mind. And while no one may know where your search will end, there is little doubt you will find your life richer and more profound by taking the trip. Thanks for going to the end of this little exercise. I wish you good fortune on your present and future quest.
People don't logic their way into stupid positions. They stupid their way into stupid positions.
I was looking for applause, but I don't think I've got it on my soundboard. All right, so what have we been learning about? Analogy. Analogy. We've been wondering about how the one, as the first cause of everything, could also be the good that we desire. We've been making arguments for that, or explanations for that. But this one seems to be more about analogy. How do we actually reach the one or the good? Or what's the thing that keeps it all together? Let's read it again. Every divine order is united to itself in a threefold manner. From its summit, which is in it, don't get that, and from its middle, and from its end. From the one hand, the summit, possessing a power most singular, transmits union to the whole. So there's the pure one at the top, unifying the whole within the order. Or, with an analogy, our ideal term at the beginning, unfolding downward. So for this example here, the self that is, the mind logos, the reflection of self in the mirror, reflecting its goodness into the different minds that unfold. The middle, fully extending to both extremes, binds together the whole order about itself. So we've been looking at our middle term, mind itself. So we have the physical world down here, mind and the self. So we have the one or the good self unfolding and uniting. We have the middle term, oneness, giving us our peak experience. That is, we reflect on to derive the source of reason and understanding, allowing us to discover our purpose. And so it's the mean term. You can even see this book as the mean term. Pierre, through this book as the mean term, extending his goodness down to us as the readers. So there's our analogy happening. So the middle, fully extending to both extremes, binds together the whole order about itself. And then translating the gifts of those that are first, the gifts of the wisdom and masterful guidance of the author, extending to us, and drawing up the powers of such that are last. So you are different, you can contribute, you can add to the tradition, and your powers that you are using in how you think and what you decide to do and how you live your life can be brought up to become like the power of your mind, the power of your life, the power of your activity can become like the ideal. And that middle term, inserting a communion in all of them. You might have noticed that debates, one of the reasons why debates are crap is there is no shared common text. Someone can come up to a debate that you see on YouTube and say, well, I read this study that I'm right. And the person says, no, that's not good. You should fact check that. I have this study that says that I'm right. There is no communal text that they can both look at and derive the truth and understanding from. They just make up their own shit. It's one of the many reasons why debate is bad. You have to have a shared text. That's why we read here. Otherwise, it's just people throwing their opinions around and nothing gets done, nothing gets solved, no evolution is made. Now, we could also say the dream maker is like this. Our masterful guidance, as we saw the 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
1 art, 2 goals, 3 activities. Our guidance in that third activity comes via our dreams. So you could say the dream maker has the mastership of the self and self logos and pathologos, well, the logos, that we seek to become like ourselves. So that is transmitted downwards. But not only the goodness from the high extreme, the oneness, because we can become the same as and identical with it. But for us to participate in its wisdom, we have to ourselves have a mean term. It's our dreams that become objects of our reflection, together with our friends, where we can practice our dialectic analogy, dianoia, logos. We can practice our art. Perfecting our art while also getting specific immediate messages about your life, your present, your past, your future, and maybe even enlightenment experiences. Now, there is a 5th class of dream that has been mentioned but hasn't been explained yet. Been referred to a few times. We don't know what it is yet. The past dreams about your pathologos problems, that's most common. Present dreams, reminder about something in the present. Often a encouragement. Something that you were doing well in the present you might have ignored. Future dreams, prophecy dreams. Insight dreams, enlightenment dreams, peak experience dreams. And the 5th, that's a puzzle that we have been carrying for a while. Nevertheless, there are, that could be considered one of these examples within the 148th proposition of mean analogy. Every divine order is united to itself in a threefold manner, from its summit, its middle, and its end. The summit has the most singular power that it can transmit to all, which is interesting because it's not diminished. So we have this understanding of the pure one or the pure good as defined with our Venn diagram, which is somewhere here, as the same that can't be different, the whole that can't be parts, this area of the Venn diagram, meaning It can't lose its power, its potential, its potency. Potency is the word I'm looking for. In other words, it has the highest power that isn't diminished. It doesn't become less. It transcends that necessarily. And we can test that ourselves. You might have different physical experiences and get physically tired. You might have different states of mind that go up and down and have states of mind of anguish and depression and things. But does your awareness, attention, get tired of ups and downs? Or only what it is on, mind and the physical? Maybe. So, there is a power most singular transmitted from the top, transmitting that oneness or the union to all, uniting the whole. The middle extends in both directions to the either extremes, binding together about itself. That's why we read, that's why we do dream work. Yep. That's why you pass this on to others. You talk about this over coffee with your friends. If we can afford coffee one day. Fuck capitalism. Yay, understanding. Transmitting the gifts of those that are first, but on the other hand, drawing up the powers of those that are last. So what you put, your power that you put in, your will, your attention, your focus, your curiosity, your wonder, your courage to do it in spite of your beliefs saying do anything else otherwise. That middle term draws it up. Your dreams are reading this stream, this conversation. Drawing up the powers of such that are last, and inserting a communion in all of them. Now, communion sounds a bit Christian, and I know the author is Christian, or is. So, we don't mean this in the Christian way. How about a common unity in all of them, let's say. And a conjunction with each other. For in this way, the whole arrangement becomes one. Through both natures that fill those that are filled, converging to the middle, just as if to a certain center. Finally, this transversing, being converted again to the beginning, draws up the preceding powers and imparts similitude, sameness, and convergency. Development towards the ideal, to the whole order. And in this way, the complete cosmic arrangement is one. Through the unific power of those that are first, through the connection existing in the middle, and through the conversion of you at the end to the beginning. In other words, our final goal is also the first term. Why we call it the first and final cause. So, our question that we've been exploring, why is metaphysics and the experience of bliss necessary in our goal to know the self? Or the good, or the one, or in the symposium, the true. We have been reasoning by what is inherent in reasoning itself. Reasoning itself, or mind itself, is that experience. Our understanding, dianoia, is the activity, analogy, dialectic, reading. And the terms, all of these things on the board, derived that are inherent within it. No appeal to science, no appeal to the physical senses. We don't have to give an example of a just person, and that's what we have to. There's never been a just society, therefore it can't happen. Human beings are flawed, actually. There cannot be a utopia. Point to a physical example. Fuck that right off. We're not appealing to physical examples. As anyone said to a doctor, there has not been a physical ideal of healthy bodies. Therefore, fuck medicine. But it's only fascist believers who say there can't be a utopia because I haven't seen one in my physical senses. We are not thinking in terms of physical senses, physical sciences, or beliefs, or appealing to personalities or authority. We are reasoning through reasoning itself. That's dianoia. That's the art we're here to master. And it's through that art we are converted to the first cause, the self. We accept the gifts from the divine, from the highest, from the first term. We are drawn up to our excellence of mind and then excellence of the self. We can realize through this dianoia there is a communion. Commonality between all. What is it? Communion in all. A way of unifying humanity within one activity, art, and way of being. Way of unifying your soul, relationships. There is a similitude through mind, because mind is the reflection of self. Our experience of mind imparts a similitude about self. We get to look at ourselves in the mirror and learn about ourselves. It imparts through metaphysics and that peak experience similitude or sameness, convergence upon the top, the unification of the one and the goodness of the good, and maybe even the beauty of beauty itself, or the beauty without parts and the truth of ultimate reality and self. Now, this is often called ultimate reality, the middle term, but we could call this the greater reality if we mean ultimate reality, the ultimate, the greater, and the lesser, the self. So, does that answer what we're doing here? What's the difference between dianoia and any science or physical world understanding or belief or physical sense stuff? Why this can never be an object of belief? Doesn't matter if you're Christian or Muslim, or if you were born in a galaxy 1,000 light years or 1 billion light years away, or 1 billion years into the future, or 1 billion multiverses away. This will always be true because we are using one whole same, many part different, greater, lesser, ultimate, good one. Can you patent the idea of whole? Can you say it's only our religion that gets to think about whole and part? Can't be an object of belief. So it's metaphysics or dianoia or love of dianoia, philodianoia, can unify our whole species, our whole soul, our relationships, allowing us to benefit from the rulership of the self, specifically through dreams and these texts and the midwifery book, making us more like the author, taking us from where we started to the first term. There's our goal. But notice, by reflecting on thought itself, we get these terms which we can apply to the self, but only in a unique way which is divorced from all experience. In other words, we've never seen a whole that isn't part. We've never seen this area here of the Venn diagram. But we can understand it, so long as we recognize what we are recognizing is a whole. It's just different from any other whole in that it cannot have parts. It's a one. It's different from any other one in that it's a pure one. It can't be many. It's a good, but it's different from any other goodness because there's no possibility of it connecting with anything bad. It can't be. And so on for all of the terms that we learn through metaphysics. Therefore, metaphysics is a necessary mean term for our conversion, for our language and thinking that we can apply in a specific, unique way to our pure attention, awareness, or seeing, to know the self as our ultimate goal, as the one, the true, and our desire, the good. Necessary mean term to unite our souls, relationships, and species. Therefore, philodianoia is the ticket. Says Proclus in his 148th proposition. So, can you make that argument? Can you test it? How are your dreams going? Can you see your dreams tonight as that mean term? Can you see it having a power? Can you, through your dreams, wonder about the dream maker possessing a singular power? Does the dream maker transmit dreams to all? If we all have dreams, can it be a way of uniting the whole of our species and all intelligent species that dreams? Dogs have dreams. Does it extend a goodness to us and a oneness through our dreams? Can it bring you up to be similar to it if you learn to understand it through dianoia? And is it your guide? Is it worth it? Worth playing this game? Worth sticking with it? Even though cognophobia says you're not good enough or this is not worthwhile? Every believer in your whole life will say, this is stupid, listen to me. I'm the one, I'm the big daddy, I know everything, listen to me. Worth doing it in spite of those voices or echoes from the past? Worth sharing with your friends? Now that's the last episode. Oh my goodness. I think from our reflections and from the book, it seems that maybe because we want to fill in that idea of truth and even beauty, it might be worth going into the symposium next. That might be the next episode. If you've gone on this journey with me, I thank you. If you are watching this sometime in the future, hello, future person. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you're living in a world where everyone plays this game. I hope you're enjoying our species surviving. If you're at the stage where we have gone through this, recognized this, and we have not only created a healthy society where everyone's universal needs are met universally, using this understanding of mastery and the difference between belief and understanding, dianoia, but maybe you're at the stage of human development where we have a role to play within a greater cosmos. If so, that sounds neat. How's that going? Have these, if you've been watching these, have these been helpful in some way to contribute to that? If so, I'm glad. Just know I didn't get a lot of viewers when I was making it at the time. But the viewers I did get, I did appreciate. And whatever episodes I did catch, I was very grateful. And I apologize for the dorky sound drops.
I'm just thinking about being hot.
There's Emma thinking about being hot.
Just popped a perky, now I'm kirky.
And you might want you might be curious about what it means to be a kirky. It was some weird right-wing fascist mouthpiece, some kid that the MAGA, which was a fascist right-wing movement, paid to pretend to do dialogues, but was just to do rhetoric and debate, to be very racist and very divisive, and also to distract from the big problems like, well, wealth inequality, capitalism, the Epstein files, perpetual war happening in America. A guy named Charlie Kirk, anyway. So, most people recognized he was a joke of a person doing a terrible thing, even though the media networks that were owned by the capitalists pretended he was some sort of saint. So he was made fun of. And those who were made fun of him, often they were fired or put in prison, even though the right wing often made fun of actual right-wing violence against progressive people. So that's who Kirky was, if you're curious about that expression.
You are beautiful and everybody loves you.
And that's also something that's in my sound.
Calm your fucking tits.
I apologize for all of those things like calm your tits.
You probably want to put your grandma in the basement.
You're a little...
This guy needs a soundboard.
And this guy says I needed a soundboard, so I got one.
Jesus Christ, Emma, this is not Opie and Anthony or whatever.
You probably want to put your grandma in the basement. Dumb bitch.
All these people are so stupid.
Oh, fuck.
So, there's my there's my shout out to the future generation, the future people. So yes, I apologize, but then I pressed all of the buttons, so I'm not really that sorry. That's what I have instead of a live chatters. Now, I don't know if I get more popular in the future, but and I get lot more live chatters, but there you go. So I'm not that sorry. That's my surrogate for live chatters. So to finish the series, let's once again have a listen to the words from the author. Someone who is himself guiding us through time. Someone who is a master of the Logos, and who has, unlike Socrates, because we murdered him, or we allowed believers to murder him, he was able to write. And so we could say, after the murdering of Socrates and the subsequent forces of Emperor Justinian, Aristotle, the forces of belief, Christianity, empiricism, we have been in a dark ages since the dark ages. And our dark ages is, I think there's been 4 economic collapses by the fascist capitalists trying to extract all wealth. I can't afford rent and food, let alone the other basic necessities like petrol for my car. We are at, this is recorded at the death throes of our species, or the death throes of capitalism. One has to go. Nevertheless, well, hopefully we learn this and we wake up and we survive. But this author himself is that mean, waking us up to the words of Socrates and bridging that gap, the gap between us at the end of humanity, or the end of capitalism, hopefully at the end of belief-based rulership, and Socrates, who said all of this 2,500 years ago. Someone who rediscovered the words that were lost and continued to be lost in academic philosophy and terrible translations of the work. He was able to see that which was there to be seen. He rediscovered philosophical midwifery, the art of Socrates that was lost when we killed him, when his student Plato was too young to have gone through the process and mastered it. Therefore, had we not done that, Plato could have become a master of midwifery, perhaps even greater than Socrates, with Socrates as his teacher. He started the first universities of the West in the academy, like 300 or 250 BC, somewhere around that time. He had someone who has been called since his life by modern academics who are stupid, who are philodoxia, as Socrates called them, lovers of opinion. He was called the philosopher, the standard for what philosophy is, despite doing the exact opposite. His teacher Plato didn't call him the philosopher. Plato called him the brain. Considering what we are talking about here isn't to do with the physical organs or the brain, but the mind, we can see the difference. And therefore kicked out of the academy, instead of becoming appointed as one of the head teachers like Proclus. Perhaps if we didn't murder Socrates, we could have had a Plato who was able to midwife the problems of Aristotle. Instead, he became one of the key influences of where we are currently at in our materialism. A worldview that rejects the mind, the logos, dianoia, everything we're talking about here, and does not challenge the authority of tyrants. Instead, saying things like, point me to a physical expression of this. If it doesn't exist, it can't happen. I'm not going to learn. Because human natures are bad, actually. Look at that person in the physical world. Can I put it in a test tube? Then it's nothing. So, despite all that, someone who rediscovered the art lost with Socrates, philosophical midwifery, rediscovered the logos lost with the poor translations of Plato, and also rediscovered the significance of dream analysis that Socrates talked a lot about, but again, his student Plato never wrote about. So our author here, functioning as the mean term from the self-logos, or Socrates, to us, mired in the pathologos of the dark ages of humanity under capitalism, religion, and conservatism, and all other similar belief-based systems of rule. So those three activities: dream analysis, reading this. Oh, he was also the person who taught and midwifed Juan Balboa, allowing us to have the actual translations of Plato and Homer. He's currently still working on the Odyssey as well. So he, a real shining light to humanity. Genius, if anyone could be given the word genius. He was one of the first Westerners to go and study Eastern spirituality. Him and Alan Watts were friends. He also was a part of one of the strongest military units who fought against Hitler and Nazis. I think his unit turned like 3 major battles that helped us defeat the Nazis. He was from Brooklyn, and he was in a unit with Texans, I think. One of the most decorated military heroes. The only person to be awarded a Purple Heart and have it confiscated in the same day, because he didn't care to be a slave to idiots and was a bit of a troublemaker out here. In the good, in the best sense, of course. So someone who is currently himself operating through time to extend through his dialogue that which can unite us to our goal, our way of being of true humanity, and the self-logos, and also Socrates. So, what can be said? Gift to humanity, a genius, the best of all people. Socrates version 2. Oh, and not only rediscovering what Socrates said, but adding to the tradition. You can make a case that all of the things he rediscovered could be seen within Socrates' work, even though Plato didn't do a good job in outlining all of them. But one extra thing he added was the connection between our random thoughts and daydreams, its relationship to our night dreams. Playing a complementary role. While our night dreams give us instructions about how to solve our problems, our daydreams keep our problems alive, giving us the puzzle we need to address and not ignore to solve, giving us the puzzle that our dreams can solve, or help us solve. Some say sometimes that one is the kaka daemon, one is the daemon. Daemon, the good daemon, or the good voice of the self. One is the bad, or the pathologos. The voice maintaining our pathologos. Not to torture us, but to keep our puzzles alive, to give us what we need to go through this process. So he added this to the tradition, at least, as well as all of these books and things. So worth giving a little bit of a account. I mean, we could speak for a long time on the man. Superlatives don't do him justice. He said once, it's the ideas of the previous generation that influence the next. Thank goodness he was around. Because only through understanding this can we solve the problems that we all face and the suffering we're all going through. He also mentioned we probably have a look at a few key figures like the thoughts of Nietzsche, the thoughts of Hegel, the thoughts of Adam Smith with capitalism, Bacon, I think, and another one. We should also look at the work of what's his name? That's for another time. So yes, so thankfully he was him, and he pursued what he was seeing in spite of everyone else saying otherwise. Must have lived a very challenging life. He said once that he was talking to the Black Panthers, who were fighting to be seen with basic human dignity by the racist Americans in the 60s. He said, yeah, you guys are trying to challenge the false beliefs of white America. And therefore you're hated. Because the cause of human problems is cognophobia. The fear and hatred of changing their beliefs. Guess what? He said, I'm a philosopher. I challenge all beliefs. I am the most hated man. At least you guys have each other. Imagine saying that to the Black Panthers in the 60s. What a life he must have led. What a character he must have had. Well, he did have. And it's his book we've been focused on for the last 60 odd episodes. Without which we may never have discovered 1, 2, 3. A single art, 2 goals, 3 activities. 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3.
Speaking of caveman, that's a caveman who was on the BBC once. Should we say more about him? I don't know. Perhaps there's more to be said in the future, I'm not sure. But suffice to say, brilliant, light to humanity, and the mean term connecting us with our academic, spiritual, and humanity roots. Connecting us with our roots. Our spiritual tradition. Human spiritual tradition. Socrates. With all that we've seen, and all we've yet to see, and all we've yet to do as a species as a result of this, as a result of this book and this man's work, that's one more time to say goodbye, reread his goodbye, with all of that in our mind. To us and to you, and thank you once again. To explore this kind of reasoning further, it is important to read Proclus's Elements of Theology, that's where these come from, these 2 propositions, and his commentaries on Plato's Parmenides. We have read the introduction to Parmenides and the first hypothesis. We shall have to return to the Parmenides one day, and also we can read the commentary as well. Then, maybe soon after that, we'll get into the elements, depending on if we have survived and if I can survive. So, if you find this under capitalism, difficult to afford anything. If you find this challenging, you will enjoy the life of the mind. So good thing you stuck with it, even though it was challenging or weird. And while no one may know where your search will end, could he have known that we were doing this? There is little doubt that you will find life richer and more profound by taking the trip of the life of mind. And now we know what we mean by mind and the trip or activity of mind, dianoia. Thanks for going to the end of this little exercise. And I thank you. And I thank all those who supported me in any way along the way. Those that listened, those that let me talk, those that tuned in, those that did their best. And we all thank Pierre. Thank you, Pierre, for giving us this exercise and this book and all of the other things we've just mentioned. I wish you good fortune on your present and future quest. feeling is mutual. The sentiment is mutual to you. I wish you good fortune. I hope you've enjoyed the series. I hope you continue into the next one, which may be the symposium. And we wish Pierre good fortune, wherever he is right now. In the present and wherever he may go in the future. Kind of makes you wonder. What a mind. What would happen if he came back around? I don't know. I've wondered about that for a while. By that I mean a physical reincarnation. But wherever he is, remember the Phaedo, Socrates said, I'm waiting for you here with fellow men who've completed their journey, gods, daemons, and spirits who are fellow guides and travelers on a greater quest. Having reached here. Hey, just as a fish can't imagine your world standing on the shore, imagine the people in divine luminosity who think this is reality, but can't see me here standing on this shore with fellow men, greater men that you will find here there on earth, gods, spirits, daemons who are fellow travelers and guides on a greater journey. So I'm waiting for you there. He says, send a message to my friend who, if he considers himself a philosopher, he'll race to meet me there. And that's what we're doing. So maybe Pierre's there. We wish him good fortune, of course, in the least patronizing way I can try and say it, as someone who has been learning from him. Yeah, we wish humanity good fortune in the present and its future, and we wish all of you good fortune as well. Thank you once again for joining me. Thank you for being part of this Dharma, the mean. You can't have this mean without a third term that is trying to reach the first. So you're important. And by the way, when you do get there, maybe turn around and write a few books or have a few talks with some other people to help them along the way. Next episode, maybe the symposium. That's where I'm leaning. If you have any thoughts or ideas or suggestions, either the symposium or maybe getting back into the Orange book to learn about Pathologos. I'm not sure. I don't think it's worth reading both at the same time. I tried that for a while, like one Platonic and one midwifery. I think maybe it's difficult on the internet. Perhaps when we have schools in person, we will be doing both and dream analysis all on the same day. But maybe it's worth focusing on one text. The symposium might be next. And we are probably going to skip the boring stuff, go right to the action, and learn that yoga that we can ourselves take part in. And love and logos, the yoga of beauty. So if you have any suggestions, feel free to join the Discord. There's a link below. You can send messages to me there. If you want to support the channel, you can donate. There's a link below. There's the copy of the text below. And you can follow on Twitch and YouTube. Thanks for following me on this exercise, and I wish you all good fortune in your present. Goodness, wrong button. Wish you all good fortune in your buck.
There's got to be some smoothies that don't have bananas in them.
And there's also got to be some smoothies that don't have bananas. Thank you for my soundboard for contributing.
Off the perky, call me Kirky.
Once
Spit
again.
on me.
Hey, none of that. Come on, calm down.
I often frequent websites.
Great. Thank you once again. What? And I'll see you. See you in the next book. Bye.